Recording started.
This is all just like stuff anyway. But so you're talking about winter, right? Kenny, why did you choose the hottest time of the day for me
No? Oh, for
to do
you?
this
Oh, well,
podcast? It's 12 o'clock. It is noon.
that's a you thing. But then I'm helping you. I'm avoiding you from being outside in the streets, cooking, burning, roasting. You're
I'm roast
indoors.
I'm roasting anyway. I'm roasting
You're
anyway.
welcome. I'm here to help in any way that I can.
Oh my god. So wait, so is when you say it's winter time, it hasn't started to snow or anything yet?
No, no, it's too early. Like I guess winter officially hasn't started. It will start like maybe like more like end of not end, but almost somewhere in December-ish. It's still autumn right now, so it's autumn, but it's long sleeve weather. It's your little like stuff
Mhm.
like this you wear and you get
What
all
is
warm.
what is autumn culture in Paris like? Is it anything like in America? Because like in America, it's all the pumpkin spice lattes and the foolishness and things like that.
Yeah, they don't know. What do they have? Autumn. Oh, raclette is a thing, but raclette is more like okay, so raclette season's about to start. So raclette is like I hope I'm saying it right. I don't know if it's male or female, but raclette. It's like think of it like a big dish. So it's a like multiple people can be a part of this. It's a food thing.
Mm.
It's a food thing. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
big dish and in this big dish there's like little mini small dishes
Uh-huh.
and it's electrical. So the little slots are
Mm.
heated, and what you do is that you have this little mini frying pan thing. I'm sorry, I might have said
Ah,
it right.
okay.
And you put cheese
Uh-huh.
in there, and then the big dish is gonna melt the cheese. Everybody has their own individual little
The
mini.
French and their cheese
Yes,
and their
and then you're
fromage.
supposed to do I don't. And you're supposed to do like the middle might have like a skillet thing, frying grill thing where you could do vegetables. Your potatoes are supposed to be already done. So you do potatoes, you do vegetables, you do mushrooms, you do whatever you want, and you're gonna just drizzle the cheese all on top of that. It's very
Um,
filling, and you probably won't want
um,
to eat again for
oh my god.
a while.
That sounds so good. So wait, what is it fire in the middle or you said it's electric or you said it's like an
It's
electric hot
electrical.
plate or something that's in the middle?
Yeah, so it's whatever the mechanism of the dish
Uh
thing is heating up everybody's individual. And I know they have different types of raclette cheese, which forgive me, I have no idea specifically what they are. But yeah, I kind of like this because I love watching myself talk. I should look at you. I
oh
think
my
I think
god.
it's the fun.
Kenny,
I'm
you
myself.
you love listening to yourself talk and watching yourself talk, okay? So let's not pretend that this news to anybody.
I know. I'm so enjoying this.
Uh,
I'm enjoying this.
that's what I was afraid of, that you'd be enjoying this too much.
So okay. Back you're all over the place. So back to the raclette. Now is the season for it because my coworkers are being invited, and you can't say no. If you say no, they'll take offense to it, like in a playful way. They won't invite you to the next raclette, and that's what you don't want. You need to
Oh,
be invited
interesting.
to the raclette events.
So it's an offer that you can't refuse.
In a way, like it's a playful thing. It's not like it's mean or anything. Like you get
Uh-huh.
you lose friendship over it. But just like an example that my coworker said, she said that she was offended that her friend did not invite her to her raclette. She's like, "Well, my raclette event, you're not coming," and so they made peace now because she invited her to the next one, so it's okay. It's all right.
So everybody's expected to have their own kind of like raclette, or is it what is it just different friends that arrange little pop-up things and stuff like that?
So yeah, because you could do like a restaurant version of it if you want. Because yeah, French is the thing about cheese. Because there's another cheese thing where they heat up the cheese and then they scrape it onto like the waiter will scrape it onto your potatoes, and then there's a normal
Uh,
fondue. which I'm sure everybody knows about fondue version where
Mm-hmm,
you like you
mm-hmm.
dip your potatoes into the cheese. But the
Into like a
raclette thing
cheese
is like,
sauce.
yeah, in a way. And I think they have a particular cheese for that one too, friends. Um, but yeah, so everybody has, so you can actually buy the sauce, the plate, I guess the raclette plates, what they'll call it. You could buy that,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody just brings their own, so they can have like 6, 7 of them with their whole gang of friends. That's it.
Oh, that's a cool little vibe. I love that. Um, so I wonder what it is about. So like, why that during that time? I'm so curious. Like,
Because it's a food that warms you up. Potatoes, cheese, like it's
okay, and you're sort of going into winter time,
yeah, it's getting colder, so
so
you need
it's all that. Oh
sustenance,
yeah,
warm you up
yeah,
with some wine as well. They'd be more than happy to
yeah.
have wine.
Oh, Kenny, man, yeah, it must be so nice to like live in a place that has like multiple seasons. Because like we only
Well,
have one season in the Caribbean, which is just hot, and that's just it. So it's like to see like things change and to see like customs change. I mean, I suppose we kind of have like, um, I kind of consider mango season to be sort of like a thing in a way. It's like very
oh,
different, but maybe because mango season is like a time of year. Um, yeah, it's like you don't get like the weather change necessarily, although it's kind of summerish time, so you do need like I guess warmer or whatever. But
oh,
it's a time when things happen, right? So people share mangoes a lot. People will bring each other mangoes. People who have people in Nevis will send a box of mangoes down
on the boat.
to their family.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
people argue over mango, which mango is the
The
better of poly
best.
mango versus grafted versus this versus that. And it's a thing that happens for a time of year and it's a natural season and then it goes away. So I guess that's our
Ah,
kind of
that's
thing, I
interesting.
suppose.
That's a good point. It's funny you talk about mangoes
Yeah.
because somebody had one in the fridge in the office. And we were like, whose mango is this? Because we all wanted to eat it. Me
Where
and
did you get
another
a
friend of
mango
mine.
from in France, Kenny?
I don't know what he got. It's a big one too. So I needed to
Of
know the
course, because
mangoes.
it's probably GM. It must be massive.
Ah,
Whatever mold it's supposed to fit in the lab. I don't know if France is into all that GM stuff too, like America.
I think they try to avoid it as much as they can. I don't know if they're successful.
Uh, but they must have people bringing in like produce and stuff from all over Europe and all over the place. The Middle East and different places that have mangoes and thing.
I
India and
Pakistan.
stuff like that.
I think there's
Um.
like the closest to Nevis mango is the Pakistani one, which looks like yellow with a red thing. But I
Oh,
haven't
okay,
eaten it
okay.
yet.
And is that kind of long too?
It's not as long as the Nevis one, but it's not as round as well. So I guess in between. I would say in between.
Okay. Vibes. Interesting. Interesting.
I've yet to
Oh, I would
try.
actually love to do like a mango tour of the world. Like tour the world and eat just like different types of mangoes. That would be so
But you're limited
nice.
where you're gonna go though,
Okay.
because you're definitely gonna be below the equator for your tour. But
I mean, but that's a massive part of the world, Kenny. That's like a lot of people live below the equator. And
fine, yes,
we count as well.
yes. Well, I already have my
Just because
favorite.
you gone up north don't mean that you have to be negligent of us in the global south
No,
now.
mango is still my favorite fruit. Mango, then come pineapple. Nothing could be
Really,
a
I didn't
good.
know mango was your favorite fruit. Did
I
I know
love
that?
grafted
Oh,
mango is my
I
favorite.
used to bring you mangoes that open.
We had a mango tree?
We had mango trees.
Yeah, Puro. There
Yeah,
was
and I
several.
used to go out
My
and I used
whole
to pick
area had
mangoes for
mangoes.
people in my
But
lovely
I
day,
have my
which
own
is
mango tree, so it's. But you did bring, but I don't know which one. Like I don't know whose tree you got that there off of. I don't know.
there was a mango tree in the other yard and there was one in our yard, and I used to get from both of them and bring. There was a grafted one that was really 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 sweet in like the other yard next to us, and nobody used to go down there. It seemed
Uh-huh.
like nobody really knew about it, so I'm like, oh, I have my own private mango tree. which is like heaven to me. And I would distribute mangoes at will. Yeah. Which is okay. So because we haven't talked about anything actual like interesting to anybody yet. So this is
Sorry.
like this is how we know each other, right? Or as how I prefer to put it, how you know me. Um,
Mangoes. I don't. You know that you mentioned that. I know we're probably all over the place, but I was trying to remember. Okay, so how did I? What was Cleon's first impression of me day one when he stepped into open and I was at the desk, and then I put you in the other room because I already had my impression of you,
mhm.
and I think it was Kimmy's fault. Like it. Did I was I doing too much or?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know. Was I don't.
I mean, not really. Like you were in full
I didn't want to
Kenny
give you
form, but
water.
because I had
That's for sure.
you did
I
no,
think
you
it.
gave me. I think you offered me. Oh no, you offered me water, but then when you realized that I had my own water, I think you took it back or something
Yeah,
like
he
that.
was. We were off to a good start. I know I did
I was like,
something.
who is this girl? What is you know? And little did I know that that was just the tip of the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg of madness. That is Kenny Penny.
I should have just put the water in your face. Be like, you had your own water. Ugh. And just walk off.
Oh
Yes,
my gosh, those days seem like such a long time ago now.
not that
No,
long. 7 years, maybe.
7 years.
Was it? No,
That's
wait. No, you came in
wild.
2017. Were you there in 2016? Nah, you were in 2017.
No, I think 2017 is when I moved back to St. Kitts
So
from
there we go.
Trinidad.
6 years.
Oh
Somewhere
wow,
there.
that's wild. So you've been in France now for the last what 4 years, three
It's crossed the
years?
threshold of 5 years about now, I would say.
Wow, Kenny, 5 years en français.
Okay.
Oui,
Yes.
oui, nous avons.
Nous avons.
That's French. Oh, you didn't know? That's French, by the way. You haven't learned. You haven't
Uh-huh,
learned enough
uh-huh.
French yet.
Well, then how do you say, can you ask me, so how would you say, let's you could test your French. I
This is not going to
Simple.
end well.
I lived in France for 5 years. Simple.
And so what? That's what you want me to say.
You forget your French. Ah.
You assume I ever knew how to say any of that in French?
In your class days, yes, you should have
That
known.
was like high school. I did French in high school, and I never really took to French. I took more to Spanish.
Oh,
Um, I always just thought Spanish was easier to learn. French, it just seemed like French couldn't make up its mind because I'm like, how am I supposed to know? Like, you don't say the end of the word, so how am I supposed to know what word you're saying if you don't say the end of it? Like, if you don't pronounce the end of it, how am I gonna?
yeah.
And but then some of them have like a. So like, how do I know if it's like a plural of the thing or a feminine of the thing if you don't tell me what it is? I don't know. So I was just like, okay, I can't bother. Y'all don't. This is like some secret language that y'all don't want anybody else to learn. So I don't know how you manage.
I always liked French more than Spanish, even though I tried Spanish for 4 years and it just didn't click. But I always preferred French over Spanish, to
Which
be.
is so weird to me because Spanish is the most likely language that a Caribbean person would sort of learn. It's
Yeah.
most widely spoken language in the Caribbean, and it's probably the most useful language if you were to learn one. And you've gone and learned every other language, and one language that is closest to you don't want to learn it.
Uh-uh.
So I don't
No,
understand that.
no.
Oh
It
boy,
did.
oh
It just.
boy.
It just didn't. You speak to me. The other languages, it spoke to me. And then you have like a love and hate relationship with them because they get complex like German. But you still have to respect German, even though it's the grammar is messed up. It's
Yes, yes. German is so fascinating to me. I'm going to a birthday party of two Germans tomorrow.
oh my word.
Well, one of them. So I'm hoping to hear some more German being spoken.
Is
Um,
birthday Geburtstag? I think
I
it's
have no idea. Oh, you're asking me, Kenny.
like in like birthday. Yeah, I think it's Geburtstag. I might be wrong.
Uh,
Forgot that word.
I have
You
no idea. I've barely scratched the surface of German. Like
know to
I'm
say
still I'm still I'm still
like,
practicing the accent. That's where
you're so
I'm at for now.
you're so focused on the accent. Just well, at least you know the simple
Yeah,
stuff, like like hello and good. Like I don't know if it's a day party, night party. Do you know how to say good night or good day? At least.
I know Guten Tag, Guten
Okay,
Morgen.
good.
I know Hallo. I know Tschüss. I
Just
know how to say things like Wo is the whatever. So like, I know how to say where is the pharmacy, which is Wo,
why would you need that to know
because I needed to
the
go to the pharmacy when I was in Germany, and I didn't know where to find it, so I just looked up on Google how to say where is the pharmacy. The problem is that I didn't look up what to like. It's so funny
OSD? Male
because I
of
would know what to
OSD?
say.
Voice D
Voice
apotheker
the
or voice D?
apotheker, yeah, apotheker.
Ah,
Voice
see,
the
I'd still get
apotheker.
confused with the gender with if it's D or dear because there's no real way to
Ah,
know male or female over
these
there. You just gotta
these
learn it.
languages and their genders. Why not just keep it simple like English and just have no gender? Just make just
Yeah, I was asking
a
my
word. It
colleague
doesn't need
that
a
question
gender.
because I just learned the word for
It's so
faucet
frustrating.
yesterday, which is like robinet, and it's a male. So I asked him, so why is it le robinet? And he's like, it is what it is. But if you want to learn the word for like plumbing fixture, which is robinetterie, it's a female. Why would you switch it up?
Oh my
He
gosh.
still doesn't know. So I'm okay. I'm like, all right, okay.
But you know, see, but the question is, who is doing this? Who is actually, because wait, doesn't France actually have like a council, like a language council that decides on what is
Yes,
proper French?
yes.
The
And they make the rules or
French.
changes, or if this word or that word is still a French word and stuff like that.
Why
It
can't
still
they be
exists.
like English and just anybody who can edit a Wikipedia page can invent a new word? I just it's
Free for
English is
all.
the most democratic language that there is.
Hey, the royal family had that at one point until they can't get control of that anymore. So, oh well.
Which royal? Oh, you're talking about Britain?
Where
Yeah,
the
well,
English came from, debatable
yeah,
topic, I'm
well,
sure.
they basically don't have a royal family anymore. I'm sorry to say.
Well,
It's being
let it be
dismantled one by
dissolved.
one.
Let them, have a 9 to 5. Let them do normal stuff. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. So, Kenny. Um,
You know, I
what
heard
do you
Guinness in
think
the
we should?
background, right? We're not gonna pass this. I heard Guinness twice.
I've been trying. I was wondering if you could hear him. I've been
Yes.
trying to like
Mhm.
quietly shut him up.
He knows who you're talking to, so he's like, "That's Auntie Guinness." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." See, I'm having this effect with dogs now because the office dog Rocho, he becoming my best
That is a nice
friend.
name for a dog. That's a
Right?
nice name for a dog. Rocho.
I pronounce it right. Everybody else in the office have struggles, and I'm like, "Yo, Rocho, it is not that hard." And he knows his
Is
name. He's like, "Huh?"
it is his owner Spanish or something? What's the why
He's
Roach?
French.
It sounds like a
He's French, but the girlfriend is or fiance or what is he married yet? The partner is Spanish, so I guess
okay.
that's fine.
Do
So
do you know
Rocha,
do you know that do you know that dogs have accents?
are you messing with me?
No. Apparently there was a study that was done some time back, and they basically they basically recorded different dogs barking of like the same breed from different countries, and they realized that like a German Shepherd born in Germany versus a
Uh-huh.
German Shepherd born in America will have like a slightly different kind of audio signature in the bark. And the researchers are like, well, this seems to be something like an accent, because it's because they will hear, because other German dogs will have a similar vocal signature, and like Irish dogs will have a similar vocal signature. And it's like, oh,
Really? Okay.
apparently.
I didn't
I
know
saw
that
this
was a
on a
thing. Okay.
I saw this on a trivia game show once.
Dogs have
uh,
accent.
but it
I,
kind of makes sense, because dogs, um they're very like um sensitive to human um speech and interaction. When you kind of have a lot of interaction around them, like
mhm.
I feel like Guinness makes certain noises to me because he knows that some things I responded to and some things I don't respond to. So like I'll hear him almost like he's trying to form like sentences in a way. So like if he wants to go
Aw.
outside, it's not just like a simple whine. It's like a it's like he's trying to say something.
Like open the
Like
door.
he's
I
trying
want to
to
go outside.
mimic the way that I talk in a way.
Whoa. I know some birds can do that, but I didn't think a dog can. Maybe a dog can. Yeah, maybe a
But
dog can, right?
dogs are probably smarter than birds. No, they probably have bigger brains. You could probably train a dog to do more things than a bird, maybe. Although there's some birds
Hmm.
that are ridiculously smart. Did you know there's a whole bird Instagram? There's like people with birds, and like I'm talking about ravens and crows, like people who keep pet ravens and pet crows, and they teach their ravens to like fetch and retrieve things,
I
and
know they
it's like
can,
having a
but that's
dog.
cool. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, wild. My thing is just I don't know how I would feel about having something flying around my house that will like is liable to poop anywhere around my house. Or I don't know if that's what happens, but it's like I
Can't
don't
you
know.
train
It's
them
just
to go like to specific places? Pigeons do that. They go to
maybe
areas to do their business, particular areas to do their business.
really. I
Isn't
did
that
not
why
know
like
that.
you have like one spot you see all this poo on the ground and it's like that's the pigeon area. Like they don't do anywhere. I don't know. I see that.
I always assume that it's just because they all happen to be crowding in that spot at the time, so it just happens that like the spot's
Every
gonna end up being
time.
shat on a lot. But true, if it's every time and they all go to the same place, then maybe. Anyway, why are we discussing pigeon poop?
Great to have you on the show, Cleon. Yay.
So, Kenny, what do you think we should be talking about? Like, what do you think is our? Because we've been kind of like talking about, oh, we should do a podcast. We should do a podcast, which is probably like everybody always, oh, we should do a podcast. We should do a podcast. But like, what do you think we should talk about?
Well, I thought we just discuss a topic, but it has to be like a topic that could just go whoosh, like all over the place. Like it doesn't have to be like, what's your view on I don't know, cannibalism. Like it's just that was random. But it no, nothing like that. But um I mean I would like to tell you about something. I don't know if this is a topic, but it's something that happened
Tell
on
me, tell me, tell
Monday.
me, tell
Okay.
me.
So I went it's probably gonna be backwards. You can't see it. But anyway, I went to my very first um um how do I guess it's a contemporary art and film festival opening. It
Ooh,
says like
okay,
la soirée ouverture. And
okay.
I so for the just like how you sent me the thingy with the Guyana thing, which I'm definitely gonna go look into because I want to see the other stuff over the couple days, the other movies and stuff.
Oh yeah, Timeri.
Um, huh?
Oh, Timeri Film Festival.
Yeah, is that what it is? Okay,
Mm.
you know me and names. I still can't remember what's his name? The
Don't do
Wakatiki?
it.
What
Don't
the
do it.
Pakakiki? I still can't remember his name. But you know who I'm talking about.
I so want you to meet him one of these days in person. I want to see if you're going to go and mispronounce the man name in front of him. Because I know you
I
just
think
do. I know you do it deliberately. You know.
what is it? No, probably I might try and
Don't
learn
tell me
his
you
name
cannot
before I go
say.
see him. What?
But I
what?
think.
Wait,
But
just
here's
one.
even if you go learn his name, all of the time of you messing up his name is gonna supersede that one time.
Well, maybe he'll give me like a short or a really like different type of name so I could he's like just call me Bob. I'll be like, haha, I'll be the only one to call him Bob. See, that's how you make
Oh, you
friends.
could just call him T. You could call him T. Hey,
I have
TW.
somebody I call T already. Can't.
So he doesn't have to know.
No, I don't repeat. Like I get very creative with nicknames, which we could talk about. Like I don't just call people anything. I have to think about it. It's not just
Well,
oh
let's talk about why you don't have a nickname for me after all these years, and I have like
it
10
takes it has to
nicknames for
come
you.
naturally. It just like for example,
So
in in my workspace, there's a guy. I call him baby daddy. Now, some people don't get
oh
the
my,
context of this, because they're like, what? And I like,
okay,
no, he just has a baby. He's a brand new
and he's a
father.
daddy. Okay.
Hence, baby daddy. That's what I do. And he responds. You see, it has to come natural. I can't just be like, okay, what name am I gonna call? No, it has to work. And another example, my Taiwanese friend, Edwina, I hate that name. I told her that. I'm not calling her Edwina. I would rather prefer to call her Taiwanese name than to call her Edwina. So I called her Eddie, and it just
Yeah,
stuck.
Eddie's nice. I would have
I
called her
know
Eddie
she
too.
lets people call her Eddie and not know Edwina. No disrespect that it was called Edwina, but seriously,
I
Edwina.
like that. I like that. That's a cool name. Anyway, what happened on Monday, Kenny? Back on track.
Okay. One.
You
So
can't even maintain your own tangents.
on so Monday, so the context is like it's a whole week is this film thing, and
Uh,
so they host it in two places. I think it's Berlin and Paris, but this one is in Paris. Um and they had the opening night on Monday, and then for the rest of the week they have like different um events. I'm trying to think of the word in English. Events and other special things, like I think there's like a VR. I'm looking at the program. There's like a VR something with some of these stuff the artist did, and then there's movies or
mm,
projections that you can go and watch and all that stuff. So um
yeah.
so
Everybody's into
you
VR these days too.
what's it with what?
I said everybody's into VR these days too for real.
Yeah, I think that kind of trails into the AI stuff, but that's another topic to talk about.
Mm,
Yeah. So I applied for, you have to be like get the badge to get into these
mm.
things, and I didn't think I'd get in because they say you have to be a professional like in the art community, and I just said, okay, I'm just gonna try and just put photographer, see what happens. And there we go, and I just and we're good, and I got through. And on Monday, you had to get a special invitation for the opening, and I got into the opening, and then they had two people, and they were speaking in French and thanking people to come, and then they started with the stuff,
The
the
screenings.
hmm?
Screenings.
The screenings, and they had
Yes.
some interesting ones. Really interesting ones. And they had one lady, she was present, she's Danish, and she was present at the event. And so they did an interview in English because there's no French. Well, maybe she didn't feel comfortable in French. I don't know. Um, but it lasted about an hour. No, the first part was an hour, and then they had drinks that you could mingle, drink. And the second part was longer movies, which last like 2 hours or so. And that
Mm.
was opening night.
So you said it's going on for a whole week?
Yeah, so they had some stuff activities today,
Mm.
tomorrow,
So did you
Friday,
go to the
Saturday.
other? Did you go yesterday?
Yesterday, no, I had to work. I didn't have time to do yesterday one.
Mm-hmm.
Every day is a similar pattern. So they'll have like a little like I guess speech, like an event. Maybe one of the
Yeah.
artists are going to be present, so they could do like interview, and then they'll have screenings and mingle time, and that's what it looks like from the program. I think, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you watch for the opening night? What did you see?
I saw several of them. Well, the one that I liked the most was she's so the one with the lady with the interview. She's Korean Danish, or I think she's Korean, but she moved to Denmark. Maybe I don't know, but she went back to Korea. So there's the little island called Jeju Island. That's where her
Mm,
grandparents were from, and she did a video about divers, female divers who used to make a living catching fish and stuff, and
okay.
but they no longer, that practice is getting wiped out because climate change and stuff. So she did a
Mm,
video on that, and that was really good. um I think she did it with, was it 6 women, but they're up there in age, but it was good to understand that
wow.
was a thing for them because they started when they were young, and
Mm,
they can't do it now because of their age is limiting them, but also because the practice is not that commonly done now. So
right, right.
that was a good one. I like
And
that.
and and they are Korean. The people who her subjects are Korean.
Yes, living on the
Yeah.
island.
So is this festival sort of like, is it documentary, or is it all genres?
I think it's all because the next one that came after it was like a full 10-minute video of people doing movement with their hands, which was strange and oddly mesmerizing to just see
Uh,
them do that. So it's like they started off doing this. Wait, where's my camera? This with their hand, and so all you do is hearing the sound. It's like 10 of them in a room, and they're doing this, and then it goes into another thing, and then they'll like snap, and then they clap, and then they would pat their thighs, so you hear the sound of that, and then they did
mm,
another thing with their hands, and then they went backwards, so they repeated the actions again, and then it just went into silence, and you just see like people just looking at each other. It was I like that must have been really uncomfortable, but
uh,
I don't know, like I was there, and I'm just looking at people who were just clapping, and then they're
uh.
zooming into your hands and then stuff. I don't know,
And
but you couldn't
do
take
you
your
remember
eyes
where that
off.
was from? Where is that from?
That's the thing. I was trying to find that in the program because I don't
And
remember.
is it all European cinema?
Um, that's a good question. That is a good question. I don't think so. Cause the lady, like the girl, was Korean. That one was a Korean one.
Mm. But you said she's
Oh no,
Korean
no, no,
Danish.
it's not because there's a Mexican one, Danish. Well,
Mm.
that's the thing. Um, Australia, Canada.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's not just only
Interesting.
limited to Europe. It looks like.
So was this your first film festival?
Um, I think I think it's like official one because I wouldn't count the one in Jamaica as like a film festival. I think that was just specific to the workshop we had where they showed the screenings for that.
Oh,
Um,
okay, okay. Yeah,
so I
yeah.
wouldn't count that
Oh,
as one. I think, but I think this is the first
okay.
time where they. I think this is what like what you would have gone through. Like they have,
Yeah,
um, like maybe the thing that you did in Berlin early in the year. I think that's what this
yeah.
is.
Like EFM. Yeah. A whole because it's like yeah, the program schedule, everything is sort of like all laid out, and you have different themes and different tracks of films and stuff like that. It's a
Yes,
whole smorgasbord of stuff
the
and
whole. It's
screenings
like
and stuff.
this is the whole book. There's a whole book
Yeah, yeah.
full of it.
So for EFM, every single day there was a new one of those books. Every day.
Oh, every
Because
day.
every single day. Because the festival is so big, the festival is so huge, and there's so much to see, right? So no, it's not this one. Was it variety? This is you can't see.
You have to
This
stand in
is
front. There
all
it is. Ah,
this is all my
cool.
magazines. I'm looking for the actual. Oh yes, okay. So they had a festival program called Screen,
Oh.
and you see three on it.
Yes.
That's day three. So this is Screen
Wow.
day five. Can you
Wow.
see? Wait,
Yeah.
wait.
Oh,
My
oh,
my
wait.
thing is just messing up. I don't know. Kenny, what are you doing to my screen?
It's not, you're the one who has the background up. It's not my fault. I mean, I can't see the number 5, but I trust you. That's the only thing. I see screen, but I
There
can't.
it
Okay, there it is. There it is. Day 5.
is. So every day there was a new one. Every day, and I think
Wow.
the whole thing was like
Huh.
I can't remember how many days it was. This is day four, day three, day five. And actually, so this is the official festivals magazine, right? So the festival itself does the magazine. You know who else
Oh.
does a magazine? The Hollywood Reporter for every day. And then also Variety does its own magazine. This is another one. You're
Oh.
not seeing them.
Oh. Oh. There.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. There it is. What
Variety
is
does its
that?
own
What's that?
magazine.
What is that? Donkey?
I think it's a goat. Or no, maybe
Oh.
it's a donkey for real. I don't know
Huh.
my farm animals properly. Is it showing? No, it's not showing. Whatever. But all of these different people, so it's like every day you show up to the venues
Mm-hmm.
and there's like a table full of printed material. It's just and like all of the sponsors, they do their own publications for every
Wow.
day of the festival, and
Wow.
and each publication has interviews and news and sponsored features on things and just a whole bunch of stuff. It's just so much to take in, and I'm just like, first of all, the printing of all of this is wild. Like just the printers must make crazy money. You understand? Because everybody's bringing printed material. And then like EFM. So I know I was in Berlin for 9 days, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe I believe the festival lasted maybe 7 days or 8 days, and and I saw one film because
What?
there was so much to do. There's so many talks, so many screenings, so many cocktails, so many mixers, so many presentations from all sorts of different people and actors and producers, and you have producers roundtable and co-producers roundtable
Ooh.
and actors roundtable and writers roundtable and this table and that table and it's crazy. It was so much.
Did you go to the directors round table? You did that one?
No, Kenny, I could barely. I could listen. So
Mm.
we were there for a toolbox program, which is like most of these festivals have like some sort of they have some sort of like program that allows like emerging filmmakers to participate, right? So if you are breaking into the industry and like you have a project or you have whatever, um,
Mm-mm.
and you want to kind of get onto that thing, but you're not quite ready to show at the festival and you're not at that level yet, they have like a little, almost like a little fishbowl, like a little nursery kind of thing. So that's what it was. And they have like a whole day, like every day is planned out with talks and meetings and workshop sessions and stuff like that. And then every day was lunch with each other, and then there would be dinners, and after the dinner there's
Oh.
somebody has a party somewhere, some embassy has a party somewhere, something that you just get caught up. So like you leave, so we would leave the hotel at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I don't
Mm.
get back until around 9, 10 o'clock every evening. And that's if like I decide to call it a night and just like duck out.
There's still stuff to do.
Happening. It's wild. And the thing about it too, right, is that it's it's all people who work in the creative
Mm.
industry. And I don't just mean people who are just like, oh, I'm creative, la 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 la. Oh, I make pretty things. Oh, I did da. No, like these are people in suits and people who have corporate jobs and who are constantly, they're producing things all the time, and they are, like this is their job, this is their work. And for somebody from the Caribbean who you know how it is for us in the Caribbean, Kenny. Like you have a creative project in the Caribbean that you want to get off the ground. First of all, just even explaining it to somebody else, just even getting people to understand what you're trying to do is
Mm.
like there's a handful of people who you can even talk to, and that handful of people don't have no money. They can't really help you in any way. They're also struggling, and it's just things. So it was such a cool experience to see, to be in that environment. So actually, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, since you've been in France now for all this time, and you've actually been doing some really cool stuff as a photographer, and I've told you this, like, in like voice notes and stuff, that I'm super proud of you, because I oh Lord, oh my God, I don't even, you see, this is why I
Just say it. Just I get to hear it in person in real time. It's
so
cool.
so I always like watching people's journey in a craft and in a field, and I always boast about photographers and cinematographers and all sorts of artists and stuff who I can remember in their early days, just trying a thing and doing a thing, and no, and then no, you can look at them and you can see like, whoa, there's this evolution. This person stuck with it and really, and I see that in you. When when I met you first, I was really amazed at how much talent you had in just so many different areas. Um, Graphic design, photography, editing, videography, this, that, writing. I was like, wow. Um, and then, and I know you've always been like a photography snob. Um, I think you even more so now. Yeah. With your fancy cameras and your lenses. But no, like you have even more reason to be a snob, because you're in like publications, in like international publications and thing, and you have like you have like a really nice portfolio. And I remember when I saw the fashion week stuff that you did, I didn't know that you went to that you were doing the fashion week stuff before. So I just opened my timeline one morning and I see these photos, and it hit me. I was like, this looks like Kenny's work, but like a different level. I was like, and then I saw the name. I was like, I was like, Kenny. I was like, Kenny. Wow. They were so stunning and so amazing. I was really just blown away. And um yeah, I see, your work was always good, but I can see like that sort of step up that has happened. I could see like, oh damn, girl, like, oh, okay. So anyway, so what's it been like, for you as like, I don't know, um your photography journey, I guess, in
Photography.
Europe versus here? Should I let you deflate for a second? Should I let
Yeah.
you
But it's oh, okay, yeah. So let's get into the journey talk, because I have to say my friend when he saw like the latest one he saw with the lady cut in half, he was like, for 2 seconds he thought that was a sponsored ad like from a magazine. He's like, oh, I saw your name there. It's like, what? He's like, what is this? And I was like, that's just yeah. But anyway, the journey.
This is the lady with the
Um,
shades, right?
yeah, and like
Yeah, yeah,
you only
yeah.
see half her
Beautiful.
face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very striking.
Um, the to be fair, I think this is the first venture in something creative that I've done that I'm actually investing a lot of time in to perfect it. Because even though I wrote, like I did writing, like you named them, I did writing and I did graphic design and stuff. I never took time to really um I guess like go like almost going in an investment part that could be a career. Because I liked writing, but I never thought I'd sell anything. Um, I did graphics, but I didn't think I'd do it as a job. And not to say like it's like a snobbish way of looking at it. Just I just thought of it as a hobby. Realistically, painting was the exact same thing. Um, it was just something that I enjoyed doing, but something about photography kind of made me go, okay, I enjoyed it, like, because I did it for Taiwan, but I was like the enjoyment, playful phase. I had a camera, simple point and shoot camera days. Um,
Hmm.
but when I remember talking to Zach about this, we need Zach on this podcast. Like, what we
I
doing?
agree.
Let him be the
I
next
agree.
guest.
I agree.
And then
I
you
love
invite
Zach.
me. You invite me because
Listen.
I gotta be like all giddy and like Zach and be all shy, I could be such a fangirl to Zach, and he'll tell me stop it. I'm like, I
But
don't care.
Zach deserves it because he's an amazing photographer. He really, really is. And he's an amazing, just creative mind as well to talk to.
Nice segue, because he helped me a lot in open. Like I cannot stress like the photography part of it, because when we had the gear, because you were there when we had the gear, and Adam was like, just take the gear. Me and what's his name? Not
LJ.
LJ. I was thinking
Hmm.
Jaquan for some reason. And he's like, just take the gear and just go around town and take pictures. Okay, fine. But when Zach came on board for the magazine project,
Mm.
Zach answered even my dumbest questions. Like he was like, there's no dumb question. Like he's like, just ask me.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
remember he would be at my table, the infamous table, and we would just
Oh
talk.
yes.
We would talk about we talked a lot about his expectations as a photographer, how he failed as a photographer. Um, like he was very like he like, don't overthink about it, just take photos. Like don't think too much about quick equipment and lenses and all that. 'Cause that was the mistake he made. And he's like, don't overthink it. Just take pictures of what you like, and gradually you will see an improvement without even realizing it. And being on set with him, following him around, that's basically what I did. And I don't care. I was a little puppy following Zach around when he went and shot the what was his name? These people I'm forgetting. The prime minister was
Was the
one.
ministers? Yeah.
It was like the whole, because we went to the cable for one of them. Who was that one? That was governor general, right?
Yeah, that was Juicy Byron. Yeah.
I think, yeah, okay. I forget the people. But yeah, so even like then, and we were on the boat too, I was just asking
Mm.
Zach so many questions, and I'm so happy to have had that experience with him, because that's how, and you know this, like I feed off of other creatives. So like you're one of them. Like I
Mm.
need this information to better myself. So having an actual photographer who lived this, did this was his job, this is his job, this is how he gets
Mm.
paid, this is how everything, was what I needed to just kind of like find myself as a photographer in the very beginning. So that's why when I said, okay, I want this specific lens, and I remember I'm gonna call him Tropicana. You know what I mean.
Right. True
And
couple.
he
Yes.
he he will, me and nicknames. He he went down my throat like, oh, why would you get this lens? It makes no sense. You need to start off with this and that. And I'm like, I thank you, but I know what I'm doing. Like this, it just felt that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I told the exact same thing to Zach, he's like, okay, see if it works out. Like he didn't oppose it. He wasn't going technical about, oh, you need this gear and this kind of camera, and he didn't care about that. That's what I loved. He
Yeah.
did not care about that. Ah, Zach, you need to come
Yeah.
back.
Well, and I think it's because Zach, probably because of his background. It would be interesting to talk to him about this too. But why I found him intriguing was because he had a background in shooting. He had a background in
Sports.
photojournalism,
Yeah, yeah.
and
He used to be like
and
at the
he and
baseball games and stuff. He said, and he used to do
yeah,
that.
and he would shoot like presidents and like big events and big things like that. And I remember in Trinidad, I remember I worked with this guy who, Alex.
Mm.
He used to be a photographer, during some war. He was a
Oh,
photographer. He would go to like war zones and
oh,
take photos, and he has this like really incredible portfolio of like those sort of, human interest, like really moving sort of Nat Geographic kind of
yeah.
images. And he's also a person who is like, I'll never forget one time him and this younger photographer was in the art room, and I just overheard them. They were talking about something, and he was saying something about gear and trying to get some lens, and I think that I should get this kind of lens because and Alex just turned to him and was like, that's because you think it's about the equipment, and he was like, no, it's about the camera that you have, and it's about the eye that you sort of develop. That's really the thing, because you could have all the gear, but if you don't have
Mm-hmm.
an eye for story and for
Mm-hmm.
style and for voice, right, then the most technically sound image is going to be completely, unimpressive, and what I find interesting too, about a lot is that it's such a kind of a it's a subtlety, right? Like the same thing. I also feel the same thing happens in all disciplines, where the line between the line between um something hitting the mark and missing the mark is
Mm.
so thin, and
Mm.
so small sometimes, that it's really just a matter of a simple adjustment. So like I remember with Jequan, since you mentioned Jequan, we were working on the icon project. There was some icon that we were working on, and it just wasn't looking proper. And I remember we were just like, what if you just turned it just a little bit, and we turned and it worked perfectly. And I
Mm.
think it's just because of just that subtle thing gives you something that you can kind of remember and recognize, that you realize, okay, other people will also recognize this subtle perspective of it. And I
Yeah.
think the same thing with photography as well, that
Oh, yeah.
two photographers can be in the same place, take a
Mm-hmm.
picture of the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it just tells two completely different stories. They could frame it the same, they could light it the same,
Boy.
they could do everything the same, and just one hit and one don't hit.
Boy. Or they both hit different. So this is I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying because this is exactly what me and the other two girls did at Paris Fashion Week. We would
Mm-hmm.
stop people. So we'd be like, they don't have to be like models or whoever. Like if they dress well, we just say, hey, can we take a picture of you real quick? So it's me and two other girls. They don't got the best equipment, nothing. They got like normal Amazon camera kit lens, but that's not, I don't care. Like they look at my camera like, oh, you got the fancy lens. I'm like, girls, it don't matter. Let's take it. So we took pictures, and all three of us took the same model differently. And then like that's what I'm talking about. It's not, it doesn't matter what lens you're using, what camera, like of course each thing has limitations, and I get it. You can upgrade if your budget requires that, or if you could, fine. But work with what you got, because those two
Yeah.
girls, they took a whole other approach for the same model. And I
Mm.
love their photos. I love
Yeah.
them. They're so pretty. And there's,
Which is
oh,
which is why, I always say you can't separate the photographer from the photograph.
mm,
So the photographer is always a part of the photograph in my mind.
mm,
Always, always, always. And it's a weird thing because you don't see the photographer unless it's
right.
some type of like self-portrait with a mirror or something. But you don't, because the subject is something projected outward, you don't see the photographer, and it's easy to never think about the photographer. But you see what you just said about how you all were at the same place shooting the same model and you took a different thing. What is it about each of you that informed that specific perspective? You
Mm.
know, what is it that fascinates you versus her versus the other one? What did one of y'all had more shaky than the other? One of y'all more quick. I don't know what. It could be something so small and so simple, but it's still part of the photographer, you know?
And what and yeah and what they ultimately what they see, because I always say the lenses are my eyes. So like I think Zach did tell me this would happen, and it's happening. Like I see in my lens. My lens is like an 85 millimeter, and that's all I see. My eyes are restricted to that. So it
So
crops
you go
everything
straight
else around me.
viewfinder, you mean?
Yeah.
So you go into the viewfinder. Okay. Mm.
So it's like what you see in the viewfinder is what I can see without. So it's, you see me without the camera right now. Like I don't have the camera, but how I'm looking at my screen is in 85 millimeter. Like it's cropping everything else. So Zach did tell me like over time when you get accustomed to a way of shooting, that's how your eyes are gonna get trained. And that's 'cause I think my brother even asked me the question. He's like, "How do you know what to take?" And I just tell him that's what my eyes are seeing. So if I see a whole confusion on a street, like there's a bike marathon or something, but I see a little boy in the corner trying to fix his bike, that's 85 millimeter, that's what it's seeing right there. And that's when I pull up the camera and I take it. And that's exactly what
Yeah.
I get, the picture I get.
But you see, okay, so this is something else I wanted to talk about too, because um it's funny, what you just described is very much like how I think about your style, which I remember telling you the other day that I think I can see your sort of unique style and perspective kind of emerging. And I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it seems to have something to
No,
do
no, do I.
with it seems to have something to do with sort of finding finding the micro amidst the macro, right? In some
Mm,
way, it always seems to have that element with your photos. It's like I'm a, like I'm aware that there must be a lot of things going on outside of the frame. And I kind of feel as though I'm surrounded by other things going on outside of the frame.
mm,
But so I'm aware of them, which means I'm perceiving it, even if it's not pictured. But what is pictured is something much smaller and um, much more
like,
singular, and it's
like
this kind of
cropped.
like, yes, and it's this kind of silence amidst the noise type of thing that I see coming out of
Ah,
your work.
yes. Ah, cause that now that you say that, cause the picture that I regret that I missed with the little boy, the guy holding the little boy on the wire thing, that's all I saw. But around them, they were like, it's a Saturday morning, so people had like groceries. There's a bakery next door. They're getting bread out, but I didn't see all that. I just saw the little boy and the guy
Mm,
holding him on that wire, um, the chain thing, doing the balance
mm,
thing.
right.
That would have agreed with it, because I that's what my eyes see. I didn't see all the chaos around it. I just saw that little
Uh,
moment. But it's I'm still learning how to do that well, especially when you're living in a city. Because I was looking at other photographers and how they capture something similar to what I see, but in a city setting. So it's not like it's isolated and just one person in a field. It's like, how do you? how do you separate one person from a group of so many is what I I tend to do and what I want to learn on improving more. Because I
Mm,
can see it, I just need to know how to capture it so that people can interpret
mm,
it that way.
yeah, yeah. Are you ever like because I know you do like getting feedback on your work.
Mhm.
Um, what are you looking for when you get feedback from people?
It depends on the people because someone just get oh pretty picture and I'm like, okay, thank you. All right, that's thank you, but I need more than that. I think a good piece of feedback, if it's not Zach, because Zach is so good. But if there's another photographer, I think he's in France. Um, he had a look at one of my work and we were discussing it, and um I don't remember which one it was, but I was so caught up on like, okay, I have to have a style. I have to have something that says it's me, it's Kenesha. And because I was looking at his work and I could tell, like, I could see a pattern happening. I was like, okay, like this is, he likes to do a lot of like sharp shadows as a frame for something, like framing a subject, but he used shadows. So I said I see a kind of pattern in his portfolio. And I was like so I was like, so how do you do it, like how can I get to that point where um I have a signature to it, because I don't like to take normal stuff. That's why I hate portraiture. Actually, I hate your standard portraiture, look at me,
Yeah.
take a photo, turn to your left. I hate it. I
And I
hate
know
it.
you have a portrait gig coming up soon.
So it's a challenge because now it's like, how can I put something interesting for me as a photographer so I don't get bored with portraiture, because I know I can do it well. I just need to now figure out how I can do it well. I don't know if is if I need to know what my style is to do that well, or if I just need to. I don't know. It's but the answer to the question, the other guy just said, like he was like, which is what a lot of photographers tend to say the same thing. Like, don't overthink it, is what he
Mm.
would tell me. Um, find a different way of doing something, but don't try and like follow the next person because they did it that way. Because that's just their way of doing it. You have to find your way of doing something that everybody does, but differently. And all these photographers answer the exact same way. Maybe they don't know the answer. Maybe that's just the reality. They don't really have an answer. You just have to just do it, and like trial and error, and just it'll come gradually as your
I
eyes
agree, actually.
figure it out.
I agree because then if you start going into something with this conscious idea that this is my style and this is not my style, then it sort of becomes a caricature of itself and it becomes rote,
Mm,
and then it's like, okay, there is Kenesha playing Kenesha as opposed to just being Kenesha, and what that and that comes with, you see, the thing about being, right, which is ultimately what voice is. I was listening, so very interesting. I've been I've been doing voice lessons,
oh,
not because I want to sing, but
ah,
because
I had to hear that
no, because
singing voice, man. Okay.
no, no, you don't want to hear my singing voice. No, I've been doing voice lessons because I've been thinking more about this whole podcasting thing. I've been wanting to do more. I've always loved radio, and I remember I used to do radio, and I used to love radio.
Mm,
And people always tell me I have a radio voice, and I'm like, I don't know, but um, I there are many people who are in radio who I admire a great
mm,
deal, and I didn't even realize that I admire them. I didn't realize, like, oh, these people are radio people that I'm admiring, right? Um,
mm,
but just the idea of like making a career out of your vocal instrument, out of your voice, is like, okay, well, maybe I should at least learn what it what it is to use the voice for speaking or for like longer periods of time. How do you work on your breath? How do you work on the proper, pronunciation and forcing and da, 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 da. So I was learning about head voice and middle voice and chest voice and this and that, but from singers, because I think singing is the pinnacle of voice work.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been, and also because I really love singers. Like I really really I listen to like a lot of like classic singers.
Mm-hmm.
um and I'm fascinated with this idea of the voice, because all right, here's what I'm trying to say. Every Like a piano is a piano and it sounds like a piano. That's what it is. A
Yes.
guitar is a guitar and it sounds like a guitar. But the human voice, each voice is so unique, and yet we use it in the same way that we use any other instrument, which is not standardized,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still so unique. So it's an instrument that gives you a completely different sound, yet it's the same instrument. But people can learn how to use it really well. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and in doing this study, I've so the thing about voice,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about voice as writers, voice as artists, voice as cinematographers, whatever. Every artist is looking for a voice. So what is that? Well, the voice has to be then the unique signature of your instrument, your sort of expressive instrument. So like, okay, cool. So this idea of the voice is your unique sound, your unique mixture of all of the different physical idiosyncrasies that go along with the vocal apparatus. Okay,
Mm.
cool. So that means that we have that when it comes to every other. So as if a writer is looking for their voice, well, what does that mean? Well, it's the unique combination of all of the sort of different bits and pieces that go together to make your thing what it is. And it's not something that is um it's something that you can train and develop, but it's something entirely unique. So one of the fascinating things about voice that I found is how singers' voices change over years,
Mm.
and that your voice can change not just based on your age, but based on things that happen to you in your life. So gaining weight, losing weight can change your voice because there's more weight, just the physical thing of pulling
Ah.
on cords and stuff is a little bit different. So like
Okay.
I was looking at how Adele's voice has changed since she lost weight, you
Ah.
know. That's what they were analyzing. Like they were showing, oh yeah, you could hear when she was fatter, it's like a richer, fuller sound because she has sort of more of whatever. I don't know the exact mechanism, but like also like
Hmm.
traumatic events can change a person's voice. So like for instance, I was watching this video of Britney Spears
Mm-hmm.
singing something she was singing recently. Not like perfect, not she was just on her phone in her bathroom singing, like
Mm-hmm.
practicing singing. And I was like, oh wow, that's what her voice has changed. I can hear it. Like you can still tell it's Britney Spears, but I could actually hear like I could hear almost like something has happened to her in her voice. I could hear because she went through all this
Yeah.
drama with her parent and her father and this and that and da, 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 da. And it's like as she's singing, I'm like, girl, I think I could hear that. I think I'm hearing it, you know?
Mm.
So I think the same I'm saying all this to say I think the same thing applies to all creative disciplines in that your unique voice is going to be whatever combination of just life experience that makes who you are you. So it can't be something that you do with like a specific intentionality,
Okay.
is what I think, you know?
But but then how does that how? Hmm. Because I know definitely like there are certain other things that can affect not just trauma, but like maybe because you hear stories about people saying like they hurt their cords or something,
Mm.
they pull it or something. Um, but I'm wondering if because I never now you got me wondering about voices now. Not the ones in my head, not the ones in my head, but like the like maybe like a whole science behind. Because I don't know, I was watching this documentary about um the singers like different ranges that they can go. I don't know what
Mm.
led me to this, but just different ranges that you can go, whatever notes and all that. And then there was one where the sound is like it's a tribal sound that a guy was making, and he was teaching you how to make that sound. But I've never heard that sound
Mm.
before. And it just makes me wonder like how much can this little vocal cord situation do? Like are we using our voices to the fullest? Like do we need like you said, do we need to train it to
Mm.
fully utilize the capabilities of that? Because even just the little 5 minutes I was trying to mock what the guy was doing, I was almost making that weird noise that he was doing. Well, it's
Mm.
weird because I never heard it, but it's
Where's he from?
voices. Um, uh, I think no, he was American, but he was mimicking a tribe. It's not. It's. It was like Pacific. There was a tribe somewhere around there, and he was
Mm.
mimicking that like a ooh sound, but it's like a singing voice. And
Mm.
he was
Mm.
showing you just how you can do it too, because he's like, I'm a normal person. I'm not like a vocal trainer or anything. And he was just telling you how
Mm.
to fix your throat and your with all that stuff. And it's, know
Yes.
what this reminds me of though? Languages. It remind because
Mm.
languages. I'm learning Korean at the moment. I don't think I told you this, but I'm learning Korean at
Of
the
course
moment.
you are. Of course you are. Because you wouldn't be Kenny if you weren't learning some random language somewhere.
But relax yourself, calm down. But I'm finding out that the language is a language a lot to do with vowels. So they're very much hard on vowels and how you make certain sounds with your throat, which is I'm not used to that. And you think of all the languages I've learned, I get it, but no, it's like you have to know how to control here sometimes. Not even a sound. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
sound. So it's
Mm.
like that's another sound I have to go learn to program my brain how to
Well,
make that.
French has kind of things almost well because doesn't some French have like a sound, kind of like a
Like oh wait, huh. Yeah, let's hoveni. But it's
something
not
like
a
that.
yeah, they do have a similar. I think
But
Dutch too have is it
and
Dutch has a similar
I was learning well, I don't even know if learning with a small L. I was just looking into Hebrew the other day.
oh
Um, you think you're the only person who like interesting languages now? But I
I
was learning.
oh that
I
throat, let's
was
go.
looking into Hebrew. Kenny, I lasted like maybe 45 minutes. I did finish the first session, like learning the alphabet. I was learning how to write and say the letters, and
Uh-huh.
and they that it's like that is a frustratingly like complicated thing because there's these throat sounds that you have to make that are like you don't even know if you could do it. It's kind of like a sound like a kind of a weird thing that you have to put. It's like you have to know when to use it. I'm like, what? I don't know. So it really is a lot that the human voice can do. Have you ever heard of Ima Sumac?
Who?
Ima Sumac.
You must so
She's
much.
a she's an opera singer. Well, she's a singer from she's from, I think, Peru. That's where the Andes are, right? The Andes Mountains in Peru.
Yeah, isn't it
Um,
Peru? I think it's Peru.
yeah, and she was from like the 50s, from like the 40s and 50s.
Mm-hmm.
But she was one of the biggest like global. She was like they said, her fame was equivalent to Beyonce at the time, if there was such a thing of like Beyonce's way more, but like she was kind of like the Beyonce at the time in that she couldn't she couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't like she just couldn't. She was just mobbed all the time because her
Oh.
voice was so unique and special.
Mm-hmm.
She used to sing. There was this kind of style of music called exotica, which in the contemporary lens is actually kind of racist, but it's just it's like the American reference to music that comes from like the southern parts of the world that they don't really understand, but that have like a heavy bass, heavy kind of um tribal type of sound. It sounds like it's kind of jungle
Oh.
related or whatever. So they would call
Okay.
it exotico. And she was from um a village way up in the mountains in the Andes. And she
Mm-hmm.
says that so she had like a very incredible vocal range. I forget the number. If it's something like maybe if like the average singer has like 4 octaves, she has like 6 or something like that. Like she has like a ridiculously
Oh.
insane amount of octaves in her voice. She can go like super 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 deep, and then she can go really high, and just the things that she's able to do with her voice. And she says that a big part of it is because she from where she was grew up in the Andes, the air is very thin.
Mm.
And like it makes the lungs stronger or something. Like your lungs have to be stronger, so that it could take in more air because there's more thinness of the air or something like that. So like people from like the Western world who go there, they get dizzy when they go up into the hills. Because they're not the oxygen is
Ah.
not as much. So if you're from there, like the doctors tend to say like your lungs are stronger or your capillaries are wider or something like that. And she said that's why. But used to um she used to go into the forest when she was a little girl, and she would
Mm.
imitate the sounds of the birds and the sounds of the forest, everything that you heard, the rocks tumbling
Nice.
around, the wind going through the trees, everything. So when she sings, it's like you can't tell you can't tell sometimes the difference between words and just like
Mm.
vocalizations. It's just really beautiful, very haunting.
She's still
And
a,
and I
well, she will pass away now. Aw.
she died. And she was like she was one of the first like divas. She was a diva, like a true
Mm.
diva. So she was kind of like
Ah.
a little bit dramatic, and she was a bit demanding, and she was kind of you
Mm.
know had to be a certain way, not obnoxiously, but like she was someone who truly mastered her craft in her time. Um, and it
Mm.
made me think. So lately, I've been thinking a lot about this idea of like cinema, right? And the whole idea of like um the scene, right? So that's what I was kind of thinking about calling this behind the scenes, because it's like us as creative people talking about the behind the scenes of what we do, right? So whatever the scene that we're creating, this is what goes on behind of it. But it's like even just this idea of the scene, right? Like we think of a scene as often related to cinema and movie, and movies
Yeah.
are, or when we think of cinema, we think of a picture. We think of going to a theater and watching a film being projected on something, and all these frames moving at a certain thing, right? In that specific medium. But
Mm-hmm.
lately, when I think of the word cinema, I sort of I think about living theater in general, and what that really is. So it doesn't really matter what you capture it with. I mean, you could capture it with a still camera, or you could capture it with a moving camera if you want.
Mm.
You could capture it with writing something, or you could capture it with a painting, or you could capture it with your voice, like Ima Sumac, how she would recreate the scene that she was in. You know, when you think of what a scene is, a scene,
Ah.
a scene is a time and place. As a scene is a setting. So like when there's
Oh.
a particular type of art that is evoking a scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're giving me a time and place in this image or this sound or this whatever, and that time and place is meant to represent
Mm.
who you are and where your surroundings and where you sort of come from. There's a kind of a there's something to that you wouldn't necessarily get, for instance. And like, what would be the distinction between that? Like something, for instance, like studio photography. You know, if someone were to do sort of professional portraiture or something, that's not really a scene. It's just a representation of a human being. But then a scene is okay. Where is this person? What might they have been? What might they have been doing? What are some
Mm-hmm.
of the influences of the culture and the time and place that's happening? And what's, how does the environment give us this product that we're seeing? You know.
Oh. That's a good way of looking at it. Even though the lady with the singing, this she's acts out a scene from just her voice. I like that. Look at you coming on educated. Look at that. I like that.
Well, I mean, sometimes I think I'm a little bit too too esoteric, maybe, or maybe I'm just, maybe not, that's not even the right word, but like being too um airy fairy about it. But yeah, I mean, because like sound, I mean, sound is a scene. Sound is part of the scene too.
Mm-hmm.
Sound is written into the scene, and it's like, okay, if for instance, how can a photograph be cinematic,
Ah. How could
right?
oh but there's no sound. It's a photograph.
Yeah, but if for instance you can demonstrate to me, so in a photograph, depending on what it is, I'm transported to a time and place, so I can probably picture what things sound like depending on what I'm seeing. I could probably picture,
Mm.
just like what I was saying, with some of your photos, I can sort of almost, I feel like I'm perceiving what's happening outside of the frame. I almost feel like I'm there on the street
Mm.
and I can hear, because you do street photography, right? Which is something I want to talk about too. Like what draws you in particular to street photography? Because that is pure cinema in my mind. To me, every single street is pure, pure, pure cinema.
Yeah.
It's people moving, interacting with each other. It's stories
Mm-hmm.
blending. My if I walk down the street, my story is blending into somebody else's story just for a second, and then passing. And different things are just, it's like a stream that's happening. So like street photography, I find, has this. All right, so like if it's a street photography, like for instance, those guys who go to those really like busy street markets, those like night markets in like
Mm-hmm.
Taiwan or China or wherever, and it's like you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing all of these colors, you're seeing smoke because somebody's barbecuing something, you can see somebody shouting, you know
The
so even though there's
smell,
no sound.
the smells.
Exactly. You're getting all of the tones of reality coming out of it, based on how you capture it.
Ah.
So I wonder if that, like, what draws you to street photography in particular?
I think it's just that there's a lot going on. So you have to it draws me in. There's because I think there's you said it's being nosy. Maybe that's what it is. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff happening, and my eyes are everywhere. I just I'm looking.
Yes.
And you're not bored. It's how can you be bored in street photography? There's always something happening and you don't know what it is and you can't control it. You got to work with it. It's like the best kind of photography. You don't have control of your elements, but if you get a
Mm.
great picture out of it, it's like success. It's rewarding.
I see. Oh, interesting. I guess it's kind of like going out on a hunt in a way. Like you kind of don't really know what you're
Yeah,
gonna come back with.
cause you know something. If you know like where you're going to, so let's say it's you're going to see, the events like some sort of like maybe a marathon or like people running or something. You know people are running, but you still don't know what's gonna happen in that event. You don't know if who's gonna catch your eye or who you just don't know. You don't know like maybe your shot wouldn't even be the winner. It could be some accident that happened or something. I don't know. You just don't know what will happen,
Mm.
and that's fuel enough for me to find something. So I guess in a way it's kind of like journalism in a sense because it's like you're
Mm.
finding what's interesting in that moment. I don't know. I guess so. Is that kind
But you see, so this, yeah, actually, there's so much to kind of to dig into here
of?
because um, I really like street photography. I've always been too terrified to like go out in public and take photos. I mean, in like the early days in Kingston, I used to do street photography when I was first playing around with a camera and sort of trying to learn stuff and thing.
Okay.
And that was very fascinating and interesting. But I always just felt too, I think like the best street photographers are like short people like you, people who kind of like you kind
What?
of but no, but even Zach used to say this, because Zach is very short, and Zach used to laugh about that when we'd be out on shoots and stuff. Zach used to pull out a stool. I don't know if you ever saw him pull out his stool. Zach used to walk around with a stool like a folding stool in his car. And I remember seeing him take it out, and I kind
I think
of
I
like
may have
was.
seen it though. I think I may know it.
It's so
Yeah.
funny because he was like because I kind of laughed
Huh.
when I saw it. I was like, oh, sorry, but he's like, no, I get it. I'm short, but like he said because he photographs so many like big people and stuff all the time. He always has to kind of get up on their level with them
Uh,
and shoot. But then he was saying um being short is kind of cool too because like you can kind of just get right in and just pop pop pop, like
yeah, you
kind of
can.
don't
Yeah,
see you
that's
all the
fun. Yeah,
time and
yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
So
that's when that part is, and then you lose yourself like when I'm really like Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week was another one. Like you it's good for real. It's good to be small and short because you get to squeeze yourself past other people. And you just take the shot really quick and you get to
uh,
go. And it's always continuous because street photography, you don't know what's gonna happen. And that's the adrenaline I loved about Paris Week because it's like it's there's a lot going on in this large area, and you gotta be
mhm.
quick. You gotta be like fast because there's something going on like we just use I was using like code with my friends like 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock, just go, 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 go,
Uh,
go. We just go and run. And I guess all of us are short, so we just like she pulls me into another like in between somebody, and I'm going in between this other person. I don't care. I'm just getting the shot, and then we run again and we go. And maybe it does help to be short. And my lens is not a zoom lens, so I have to be up in there, and that's what I love. Prime
uh,
lenses. I like to
yes,
be
yes.
up into my subject. You've seen the shots I took
I
with the
know.
shoes in
Oh,
the
I
street.
know.
But I love
Yes,
it.
yes.
I love doing that. I love being with so close to the subject, as close as I can get without them realizing I'm there. I don't know if that makes sense, but because the minute they realize
Mm,
I'm there, they get shy. They'll be like, they don't want to do it anymore. So,
mm,
like, how
mm.
close can I get with them being in their element?
Yeah, it's
It's
true.
fun.
You
It's
know,
exciting.
it is different, because when I see like crowd photography that's been done like with a telephoto lens
Mm-hmm.
versus a shot with maybe like a prime lens or something. I feel so much more, even if it's the same subject. Because I was watching some shots of some street march or carnival thing or something here the
Mm-hmm.
other day, and it was I could tell it was a telephoto, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I just thought, okay, that's cool. Like I get, but like when you're right up onto the person and it is like that's where I get more of that feeling of what's
Yes,
happening around the frame while I'm in it. You know, you can
that's the
something about it.
exciting one. And it adds to what you were mentioning about you learning what the photographer like what are they doing there, because it's
Mm,
there's a beautiful photo. It's in Italy. There's a festival where they shoot colored paper confetti out. I don't know, it's something they do, so they shoot different confetti out, so you just see like this sky of colors around them. I
mm,
thought it was like paint or something, but it's actually paper. And the photographer, I wonder how he took that shot, because he was like, or she had to have been in the crowd looking up as the confetti was coming down, but he was like shorter than everybody. So you see like their chests up. I don't know if he
mm.
stooped down, but that was such a beautiful shot just to see everybody just happy, just looking at this confetti coming down on them. And then yeah, you
Wow.
can't. You had to use a prime lens to be in that moment like that. There's no way you could
Uh,
have used a telephone. No.
so you did the whole of Fashion Week with your prime lens? Was all of it
Yeah,
done with the same lens? Oh wow. Okay.
I only have prime lens. That's what I told you. Tropicana thought my head was
Oh.
bad. Like he's like, who uses that? I'm like, I do.
Okay, I see, I see. So did you go in like with because I think I remember you telling me that you did you I don't remember if you said that like you kind of were not totally prepared to go in, or like you sort of it was almost like a last minute, was it like a last minute decision
Yeah,
or
it was
something
last
that
minute.
that
It
you did?
was. It
So
wasn't.
so 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 how did it come about? And like so this was you, it was Paris Fashion Week street photography, so you were outside of the venues, specifically shooting like what's happening on the street outside
People coming
and
in, yeah,
yeah,
models
yeah, yeah,
walking in,
okay,
or whoever,
yes.
designers. That was basically
You
what
didn't see
happened.
my friend Anna Wintour, did you?
No, she
tell,
was in
tell Anna I said hi.
she oh my word, really? Really relax, breathe. Okay.
Tell her I need that cover. I need to hurry up. She's messing around with my cover.
She did attend another event though, but I wasn't there for that day. She I guess if I was there I would have seen her walk in, because she was there at Fashion Week on one of the days. Definitely she was inside. So she would have had to come in. But
Mm,
I mean, nah, you can't miss Anna Wintour. No, 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 no. There's no way you can miss Anna. Not that signature look of
right,
hers.
right.
There's no
But
way.
yeah, so how did you so it was a kind of a last minute thing. How did you sort of prepare? What was going through your mind before? Did you kind of know beforehand that like this would be a pretty big deal? Were you like nervous? Is what I'm trying to like get at. What was your
Um,
mindset going into
yeah, because I didn't know if I had the right lens. Was my 85 enough? Um, like I had no idea. Like how far am I gonna be from the people? Is it gonna be a barrier? Because some places had, some places didn't.
that?
Um, I had no idea. And even the girls, the two girls, they went last year, so that's how I knew about it, because um they told me about it. And I did they themselves didn't know, like, 'cause she said it's unpredictable, like you don't know exactly what's going to happen sometimes at those events. So there's no, I mean, you could walk around with four cameras if you want, with different lenses, but I don't see why, 'cause you don't have time. Like that's too weight heavy. You got to be
Mm,
moving around. So yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if my gear was good enough. I didn't know. Um, yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I googled as much as I could Google, but
mm.
I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But she did say the adrenaline is there. and I'm gonna feel
Mm,
it. And I
mm,
felt it.
mm.
And it was great. it was it was amazing. And then when you're done, there's a big crash. You just get so tired and you sleep so well that night. But
Yeah.
boy, was
Especially
that and
when you know that you've gotten some really good stuff, right? Like you must like look down in your camera and be like, oh my god, I can't believe like you can't wait to go home and edit those things and stuff like how much editing did you do anyway? Like what's your editing thing like?
it wasn't much. I think the most painful part was the tagging people on on Instagram. That
Oh
was the
man.
most annoying part because when you stop to take photos, you tell them like, "Yeah, I'm gonna tag you so that you can see how it looks and stuff." That was the most annoying part. My editing. Did you see? This is what Zach taught me, and it just makes so much sense. Is that you do as much work as you can on the scene so you could do
Mm,
less work in post. And that's
mm,
how I've always done it. So I don't spend hours in post edit changing this effect and that effect, and no, because it's that's time consuming. So I do as much as I can, as much as I can before. um
mm.
and it just, yeah, so it's like I didn't even need much editing. If anything, like maybe if it was too bright, I just dimmed it down a bit. But
Mm.
yeah,
And
but
you're
I did
shooting in
not.
manual all the time?
I do. It depends. It depends. So I don't want to go into this is when you do this and this is when you do that, but so for something fat like for that event, I didn't have time for manual. It's too quick. So
Okay.
I just needed auto as much as possible. If anything, I change aperture, but auto is what I needed. Manual is just, I don't know how people could work in manual in those kind of settings. It's just like manual to me is when you have a studio, you have controllable lighting, you're good.
Mm.
But it's something like street photography. I don't know how people could do manual. There's too much stuff going on. There's cloud cover.
And
it's, it's
it's
too
so
much.
weird too because I've seen people on manual outside, and it's like they just know how to just read light. They're just, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go down to 2.4, or I'm just gonna think. I'm like, how
They're
do you
good.
know what to?
They're,
How do
yeah.
you know what? Yeah, I don't. I guess when you're in it and you just, I remember in Trinidad, I was this this shoot once. This is one of the first times that I saw like photographers um who were bosses of other photographers. So the photographer is this guy, but he never touches the camera.
Ah.
You understand? So it's like
So
you go to the
he
studio.
just look at the monitor. What does he do?
He, yeah, but he also has like he has like a monitor, but he also has he has a couple of assistants. So his assistants are the ones actually operating the cameras. All the cameras are his, and he will
Uh-huh.
give like, all right, all right, Kenisha, you take the Canon 2.8, and you take the thing. I want you over there. I want you over there. All right, Kenny, go down to 2.4 for me. No, wait, hold on. Let me change that light for you real quick. And you go change the light, and he's be like, how's that now? All right, cool. That's what I thought. And then you shoot at like 3 point whatever. You give me
Like
and then you just like, go.
then
And I'm
doesn't
like,
that become directing? Are you
it
still a
is
cameraman
directing.
at this point?
It is directing. Listen, I've seen, but that's the thing. I mean, when you get, it depends on the scale of what you're doing because
Mm,
um, it depends on what the scale of what you're doing because there are DPs, directors of photography, who don't touch the camera either. Well, I mean, they have a camera team,
mm-hmm,
and they're the ones calling the shots. So they're probably standing next to the director looking into the monitor, and the
mm,
director is directing the scene and the shoot and communicating with the DP about what is supposed to be happening, or they would have communicated before. So the
mm,
DP is making sure that everything is going according to plan. All the overhead lights, the up lights, the back lights, the this, the that. He's the one sort of. So the director doesn't know anything about. He intel. I don't know what light to shoot, brother man. All I know is that that's the person that I want the camera to be on. So
yes.
the DP, based on what the director is doing, knows now to instruct his team to switch things around and
Uh-huh.
switch stuff and stuff. So I've seen that a few times, like at TV stations and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Um, there, you have like a bigger kind of production where you just have all
Oh.
these different people who are responsible for different things, different cameras.
Ah.
Um, they're like one person is operating the crowd camera while the other person is operating the stage camera, and it's just totally different things that they're looking at. So the director of photography is speaking separately or collectively to each of them and giving them all separate instructions, you know
Oh.
different things. And then some directors are DPs themselves. Some directors are camera people,
Ah, so
and
they have that knowledge to know
you
camera
know
guy one. Okay.
and that's the Caribbean. Like, it's kind of, well, I mean,
You
I
gotta wear
don't
the hat.
that's the thing, because yeah, I would say that directors who don't shoot are probably a minority in the region, but
Directors who
there's a
don't shoot.
few there, yeah, meaning who don't touch the camera, who are not
Mm,
camera operators as well, who don't know the specific lighting and don't know the specific whatever
okay.
there are some directors. I've met some directors recently who are like that. They work with camera people, they work with whatever, and they don't know what the frig light intensity, the whatever, blah blah blah. Like, their job is to communicate to the DP what the tone and the mood of the scene is, who is the central
Mm-hmm.
figure, what are the sort of emotional beats of the scene, when do I want it to think, do I want it to push in on that person or pull out from that person, and da, 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 da. The DP handles all the other stuff, and that's how I like to work. I don't um I don't like. I've dabbled in a lot of different things as well,
Mm-hmm.
as a photographer. I've done a bit of editing here and there. I've done, but I am not. I don't have the patience for all the technical things. I mean, I could take a picture, but I much prefer to be directing the overall scene and everything that's going on. And I like working with DPs because it's like, I like the collaborative nature of it. I like a DP who can bring something to a scene that I can't bring
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, which is why I liked working with Zach, because with Zach, for instance, when we did like the magazine shoots, um, with Zach, we Zach, we spoke about, I said to him, look, I've never seen I've never seen stunning and emotive portraiture of our um, officials of government in our country, in St. Kitts. We've only ever seen pictures of them at events, at venues, and like,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of like studio button up thing with the thing, and like, these are the pictures that are framed in the government offices and stuff, just the
Exactly. Yeah.
looking mugshot. That's the only thing I've seen. So I said to him, look, we want to do, something that is editorial with these people. We want to kind of get a bit of personality and get a little bit so we looked over different types of of shots and different kinds of things,
Mm-hmm.
the mood board and stuff, and we went in with that in mind, knowing like what we want to do is um we want to, like, what am I saying? He was professional, and we had like an intention, and he was in charge of executing that vision, and I trusted
Mm-hmm.
Zach entirely, because I was like, all right, cool, you get what I'm looking for. I think that's really important when you're working with like a photographer or a DP, that it's somebody who speaks your language.
I think so. It's interesting you say that because I don't know them personally. It's like people that my brother would work with. There's a guy, I think his name is Jason, and
Mm,
he, I call him, I nicknamed him wedding director because that's really his job. He would have guys working with him who just take the shots, and he'll be like, no, change this, change that, or go there
mm,
with the camera. Here's the Nikon, or here's the Canon, go shoot there. And then, so he was asking brother, my brother was asking me like, do you see him as a creative like photographer? And I can't see that. I think he's very good with technical stuff, lighting, and I think he was critiquing my work with Paris Week with that. He's like, yeah, they look good, but this could have been sharper, this could have been there. So he's really good with the technical, but
mm,
I don't know if he can, he if he has like that eye, if you know what I mean, like that, like
mm.
I don't, maybe you know what I mean, like I don't know if he has that, but he's really good. Like he'd probably be the one on the streets taking photos in manual. Like I could see that. I could definitely see him
Yeah,
doing that and
yeah.
changing things and stuff. And for me, I don't want to get warped up in that. I mean, I could sit down and learn that stuff, but I don't feel like it's necessary because I feel like I'll miss my shot trying to figure
Mm,
out lighting
yes,
and all that. I feel like the shot's gone already. So I just
yes.
personally don't pay too much attention to that. Let the camera do the majority.
Mm,
I tweak whatever I can tweak, but I don't want to miss my shot.
yeah.
And that's just me. That's just
Yeah,
my
I mean,
approach.
I'm familiar with Jason and his work. I definitely have seen. I think he's one of the best in terms of like technical execution that I've seen in a while. Like him, um, and but why I think that because he works mostly in like government
Yeah.
events and that type of thing. So I
Yes.
think most of his attention is put on to the technical execution. And I've even some of the stuff I've seen him do for work, I'm like, okay, you clearly need to be in another um place because his shooting is almost too good for what he's doing in a way. Like it's not regular government event stuff. The man
Mm.
blurring out background and isolating people in the crowd and all them something there and thing. And I'm like, brother, that's really nice. You need to be on Hollywood lots or something. You need to be in a bigger space with
Mm.
that level of, it's you can tell that he's trying to do more. He's thinking. I think he would work really well with a creative director because there's a lot of guys who are it's like they're technically sound,
Mm-hmm.
um and but it doesn't mean that they don't have a creative kind of edge to them too. It's just that sometimes they kind of
Mm.
need somebody to kind of sort of like um spark it for them. And those to me those
Uh-huh.
are some of the better people to work with. Like I don't know, was Dason there when you were at Open?
I don't. Yeah, no, probably not.
Long dreadlocks. Maybe you left before. Maybe you left before he came.
Yeah, I don't know who that
Wow, you
is.
left Open early. Um,
He
but
was the camera guy.
Cameron, yeah, yeah. And he had like long dreadlocks, long locks.
I only
Um,
remember. I
and
remember.
he's really good at like
Mm,
using the gimbal. He was like yeah, his thing was like he could just go in and get you the most kind of smooth, cinematic, beautiful, moving
mm,
shots. Like butter. His shots would just move just this kind of way, and he just had a way of. I always loved where I worked with him at SKNS and at
mm.
Open, and I always loved working with him because I could just nudge him and just be like, yo, and he know exactly what I mean. And he just heard me. You just gotta point him someplace and just like, yo, get that, get that, get that. He
Mm.
just come on in and he know exactly what to do. Um so yeah, that's why I think like the director DP relationship is so it's so sweet when you get a nice relationship between a director and a DP. It's really, really nice.
Well, so we need another you and Zach collab. We another you and Zach collab.
Yes.
You come on, make this
Yeah.
happen. What you doing with your life? What you? I mean,
What
hurry
am I
up,
doing with
man.
my life? You know, Kenny, I'm actually doing a lot with my life. You know, I don't know if you've noticed. I'm trying. Oh my gosh. I kind of wish that I was like, what's it like being? I'm kind of envious of I guess you and Zach and whoever else. You know, you guys get to be, even my brother. You know, he's in the UK. You guys get to be in this bigger place where I think, like for instance, there are film festivals, there are fashion weeks that you can go to. There's all these different types of, you know, things that
Like
you
things
can,
happening.
yeah, man. So it must be so nice doing like street photography in a place like Paris versus like the Caribbean. How would you compare
Um,
the two places?
um, that's a good question. I feel like street photography is much harder in Paris, actually.
Really?
Um, yeah, because and it's because living in a city, and I kind of spoke about it a little bit before. It's like you don't know how to avoid the noise when the subject's in the noise. It's much harder. Whereas in the Caribbean, it's a bit more isolated. So you might get noise, but the person just wait a little while, let the person walk a little bit, and then there's no more noise because they're in an alley
Uh,
somewhere or something. Whereas in Paris, there's so much going on. I mean, you might see a subject like just eating ice cream, then a bike just comes by really quickly and it messes up your shot. So it's there's a lot going on. So it's like even before I take the shot, I have to look around to see what's going on. Is there like a guy on a bike coming in 2 seconds? Do I wait? Do I have to do so much before I even take the shot because it's a city? Um, and that's a I think that's one of the challenges I have in shooting in Paris. It's just it's pros and cons because I love the fact that it's busy, so you're definitely gonna have something, but there's also a lot going on because it's a city.
yeah.
Um, but you're definitely gonna have things to do. So that's like you're gonna have things to see if you're doing street photography. That is, if it's not, then that's probably not the best, not the best for
But people,
you.
and also people are more like, people are more sort of accepting of a photographer in their midst, right? Like my fear
Uh,
about doing photography in the Caribbean is people, there's a lot of people who just don't want you to take their picture. And
no, okay. No, you see, maybe it's because you're a guy. Because when I did the thing, I actually like when me and Danny went on Bastia, we had people wanting to take pictures. People were like, "Come take a
uh,
picture of me, take a picture of me." And I don't know if it's because I'm a girl. I don't know. It wasn't when we took the photo of the guy in his house, this little small little house, this old man,
mhm.
and Danny was just
Yes, yes.
striking up a whole conversation with him. And I took pictures with him. He's like, it's fine, go ahead. Just take
Mm,
photos. But here, I've had like people tell me, like I have a colleague of mine, he's a photographer as well. But he said he's afraid to take photos in Paris because there's so many people. And I know there's some countries where you have to be careful, like it's if it's legal. I think I could be wrong. Maybe Germany might have like certain cities might have laws against that, so you have to kind of ask permission.
okay. Mm,
Japan, you have to ask permission to take photos. Um, but in Paris, I think it's okay still. So I just take photos. I've never had
mm.
anybody come up to me and tell me, "Don't take a photo of me." Um, I just do it, and that's what I tell them, like just do it. And if you realize they have a problem, then just apologize, whatever. But I take the photo
Yes.
first, and then I wait for the damage after. That's what I do.
Yeah. I remember when I was in Kingston, I did this street photography um event that like the Gleaner had, the newspaper, to
Hmm.
celebrate its like 100th birthday or something. And it was about capturing Kingston over the course of 24 hours. So you had like a different,
Oh,
each person, like you choose like a certain wind, like a 6 hour period of time, and you
oh.
go for that 6 hours, and you and a bunch of other people go for that 6 hours. And
Try that in
when they're done,
Paris. That sounds fun.
yeah, I mean, you
Oh.
definitely get some of the bed bugs, some of the graffiti, some of the homeless people.
Seriously.
I mean, I was gonna ask him about the bed bugs.
Gosh, here we
I don't know
go.
why. I'm just so tickled by anything that makes fun of Paris. That just tarnishes this idea of Paris as this fancy hoity-toity place or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but they
Okay.
got bed bugs and trash in the streets.
Yeah. Or like the video I show you with the supermarket. Somebody told me, oh, that's not accurate. I'm like, all
Uh,
right.
I I would have put it past them, to be honest with you. I feel like I feel like French people are probably kind of like sort of straightforward and sort of just like move out my way. No, I don't want to. Get away from me. Da, da, da. Um, but yeah, when we did that thing in Kingston, they had to like they had to go into the areas beforehand, and like the police had to talk to the dons of the areas, the different parts of Kingston, and actually ask them for 24 hours apiece. They had to just
Oh.
say, yo, give us like 20, this is what we're doing. This is, we're gonna have a lot of people coming
Uh-huh.
around with cameras, camera equipment, and that kind of thing. So just give us 24 hours of just no shooting, no robbing, no killing, no nothing, just peace. For to just let everybody know that for this one, just peace. And they told us that, like, they brought us in and they told us, they said, yeah, especially for the people who are going to be shooting at night, but and they had to give us a
Oh
whole
yeah.
briefing about, like, you know even though we've kind of asked them to kind of give us a little bit of leeway, still just don't go into certain, don't go down that street by yourself, don't become a number, don't become a statistic.
Aw.
Do your best. And I got people, people threatened to kill me for that during them
Really?
6 hours because they see me walking around with a camera. Bomba clout, brown boy, I take a picture for a murder you, you know. I'm like, sir, I'm trying to advance myself. I don't know. I don't want to fight. But man, it was so many beautiful, beautiful images. But then I lost them all.
Aw, what happened?
I lost the memory card. It was one of the first lessons I learned about but like as soon as you come back in from a shoot, transfer your stuff, because I
Ah, that's why
have
you
to.
drill those guys to do that.
That's why I used to drill them. That's why I used to drill them, because I took over 2,000 photos that night,
Ah,
and a lot of them were amazing. And these are pictures that you can't normally get because you can't just go into like some of the random
oh.
ghettos and lanes at Kingston and get some of these shots and things. And I was so excited, but I was just procrastinating, and I didn't, I didn't, I had the card. Um, I don't know where I left it on my desk at work, and every day I showed up and I was like, nah, I'll do it tomorrow. I feel lazy. I can't
Oh,
bother. And then on when I was supposed to
no.
go and get them, I cannot find the memory card, Kenny. And I remember I was working in a huge building, 8
Mm,
9 story building. And I remember I was up on the like seventh or eighth floor. And I remember the last thing I could think of was maybe it fell down on the carpet and the cleaners hoovered it up. So I
no.
went down to the basement of the building and asked them to empty out all of the dust bags from
Did
all the
you?
floors. Yes. And I sat there with two cleaners standing
And
over
you
me,
just
and
sifting,
I
you're
sifted
sifting for gold. It's like,
all
where's
the
my memory
dust,
card?
and I did not find it.
Oh, you never found it? You
Nope,
still don't know where it is to this day.
nope.
Somebody had
And
to sabotage you.
I
Somebody was out
sabotaged
to
myself.
sabotage you.
I sabotaged myself by not following up just a basic protocol. When you come in from a shoot,
Oh,
transfer your
okay.
photos. That's all. It ain't gonna take you long. Just do it. You know. Um, but yeah, you live and you learn, I guess. Um,
Just one question because it's 1:59. This thing's not gonna cut off at 2 hour exact, is it?
I think it will because
Well, I need my outro. What is this? You're not just gonna cut me off halfway.
I think it will. I was about to kind of wind down because I'm using the free StreamYard because I'm sort of just testing
Six
out there
seconds,
to see
Cleon.
like how this
Four
works.
seconds.
And I
Two
know, I know.
seconds.
Okay.
Oh wait, it's still going.
Well, it's
Hey!
1:59 on my
Huh?
side. Is it already 2 hours on your side?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh wait, maybe a couple. What? When would it cut
It's
off now?
it's 1:59 for me. I don't know.
It's 2 hours and 19 for me.
Really? Okay.
22 to add. So then, do
In,
we wrap up? What do we do at this
are you
point? I don't
are you
know.
sure? Are you sure you're not just reading the time?
It's
Like your
recording
time?
2 hours 35, 36 seconds, 37. It's recording still.
Oh, that is. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I wonder why it's doing that. Well, I'm watching it go up to 1:59 because I think I saw somewhere that like it said. Well, we're gonna see now. Is it? Oh, it's still recording. 2 hours. Okay.
Well, maybe because I'm in the
I
future. Maybe that's why. I'm in France, so I'm in the future. That's why.
I don't know. I because like I think I maybe I just saw it wrong because I was looking at like what the recording limits are for the free plan, and I think it said like you get 2 hours or something. But then maybe I'm mistaking it. I don't know. I don't know. I've been so in a world of just so many things these last few weeks. Honestly, a lot of stuff, um, has been going on for the fellowship and um,
Preparing. It's still. Oh no, it's
preparing.
November. Yeah, yeah.
It's November,
Yeah.
but I've already started work. I've already started having meetings with the partners.
Have
I've already
you?
I've already started my
Ooh,
research, the actual
yeah.
research itself, um, which is super interesting and very challenging, but very cool. I think I've told you what it was about, right?
Yeah, I do need to refresh myself though, because I'm definitely. You said Amsterdam, right? Where you going? We're in the Netherlands.
I'll be primarily in Rotterdam,
Rotterdam.
but
Okay.
probably in Amsterdam too because there's some of the museums and some of the stuff that are
We
happening
gotta
there
go see the
too.
Heineken factory. That's where it is. I think they say
Where
it's
in
Amsterdam.
in
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam? Oh,
I think it's
nice.
somewhere in Netherlands is where Heineken factory
Okay.
is.
Yeah, I hope to
Yeah.
I hope to actually visit a few different places while I'm there. Like, I'd love to hop over to France. That would be kind of
Oh,
cool.
gosh.
I
Wait.
mean,
When did you say? When are you coming? When
it's
is
probably
that?
going to be between March and May is when I'll be in the Netherlands. Probably between those 3 months.
Um. Okay. I was trying to think when is
What are you
better.
checking your mental schedule where you have something to do
Yeah,
between the whole of
no,
March
no,
and
no. But
May?
I'm thinking weather-wise. Relax. I'm thinking weather because if you come, we could go to like Giverny and see like Claude Monet's house. Don't you want to see
Ooh,
Claude Monet's home?
I would love to see that. Yeah, I want to see everybody's house. I want to see everybody. I want to see everything that there is to see. I want to climb up the Eiffel Tower.
No, you're not.
Um,
No, no, no.
I
You want to climb
want to
up
do
there.
all of the things that people are supposed to do in France. I want to go to the Louvre. I wanna break into the Louvre and steal a
Oui.
painting.
No,
I
you're not.
don't know.
And we
But
definitely
actually,
gotta
yeah,
meet up. I'll go in Amsterdam, and then I need to tell Robert so Robert can meet us in Amsterdam because he's probably
yes,
over France
that'd be
because
fun.
Robert is Robert, and he's like, Canadia's just France. So I think if I told him Amsterdam, he'll be more
I
intrigued.
link up. What is? How do you get? Would you take a train? How do you get
I
take a
would
train from
take
Paris?
train easy. Take a
Okay.
train
Oh, nice, nice,
to
nice,
go
nice. Oh,
over.
this is gonna be so cool, Kitty. That's gonna be nice. I'm actually very interested in like the art as well. In looking into um the
Yes,
archives, the museums, all that stuff. I mean, there's so like
that would be
European
good.
art
Yeah.
is so cool. It is so permissive. I had like a very fascinating conversation with one of the partners um recently, right? From one of the
Hmm.
museums. And it's just a lot of really cool takeaways came out of that. But something he said to me, and it's completely almost it's completely sort of reshaped my approach to my work because he said to me, he said, you know, on this side, we don't really stress too much about the outcome of things, like because I was
Oh,
saying, like what's the outcome of the study going to be? Is it going to be, am I publishing a paper, am I publishing a book?
Mm-hmm.
Am I doing like a website? Am I doing a thing? There's so many different things I can do, and they're all like, it's fine. Just do whatever you think is important. You decide what it is, right? And he was saying, yeah, we don't care that much about the outcome.
Uh-huh.
Actually, we're very interested in the process, and even like the messy parts of the process as well, like the honest parts of your process. We would like to see.
Oh,
I'm like,
hmm.
are you sure? I'm like, you sure? What do you mean? Because Kenny,
Hmm.
this is not something that we say in the Caribbean. We do not care
Right.
about
No.
your process. Could you imagine us going
It's
to a
the end
client and
result.
going,
Yeah.
well, I didn't get you your end result, but we have some cool process that I can show you. You're like, they don't care.
No, yeah,
You
no, 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 no. Like you can't go. You can't. I think of any function at all, like Social Security, or you go into the line and be like, "Yeah, we didn't get you your." Like, imagine you going to get your license. Like, yeah, we didn't get your license, but we have an amazing process to tell you how we got to this point. Like, nobody wants to hear that. They just want their license.
right? But even as an artist though, like I find even as an artist, like as a creative person, um we are people just want to see people. It's like what's you're sort of judged based on the outcome, which is, did you win an award? Did you get published in something? Did you have some big thing? Did you get some big successful outcome that that gives you some sort of um uh definition as a successful creative
Mm-hmm.
in whatever you're doing or whatever. but but just the idea of being interested in a creative person's process as a product. That's what he
Absolutely.
literally said to me. He said the process is also a
Yeah.
product, you know? And I thought,
Ah.
brother, that's wild. So what I've actually started doing, because I kept thinking about this whole process as a product thing, is I've started making these voice recordings of like almost every day. At the end of
Yeah.
my day, I would do like a voice recording about what I learned that day in my research, and how it's kind of just where I am, like how it's affecting where I am in my just in my just because I'm still actually kind of shaping I'm still shaping some of the parameters of what I'm gonna, because it's kind of broad, right? Like I'm studying
Mm.
spatial organization of the indigenous people of the Caribbean, um, which is I know, right? It's what does
Okay.
that mean? But no, Kenny, no, but it's actually very interesting. It's actually so interesting. Some of the things that I've discovered so far, because for instance, first of all, just what we mean when we're talking about indigenous people and the story of the indigenous people, and
Mm-hmm.
the connection between Europe and the indigenous people, and what was happening. I mean, we know that Europe came and pretty much killed all of them and brought in Africans and did their thing and stuff. We kind of know the highlights, but there is so much individual drama that ensued between the different tribes and different European countries. Like some of the tribes were actually cooperating with European countries against other tribes.
Isn't
You
that
know,
how
so like
that lady got involved? When the French and the British were on the island, and the lady,
Babby.
the Carib lady, was she Babby? Is that her name?
Well, the story is that she was in love with one of the British soldiers, and
Pocahontas thing?
she went and warned them about the ambush that the Kalinago were planning, that the Caribs were planning. But then I later heard someone, I think it was one of the persons who works at the archives, I don't want to misquote them, but they said that they think what actually happened is that she was a captive of another tribe. So you know the tribes would fight against each other, and they
Mm-hmm.
would capture women as slaves and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
she was a captive slave woman of another tribe, and I guess she just wanted to bring the downfall of that tribe. So these were her captors, you know. So she tipped off the British.
Oh.
Now, the thing about it is like it's not as though the Kalinago and the Taino were publishing their own weekly newsletters. You understand? So much of what we know is what the Europeans wrote down about them.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so
We
you
don't know
kind of have to
that.
take that with a grain of salt. You know, they told us things that they were like cannibals and they would eat people and thing. And there's
Did they
evidence to
really?
suggest that wasn't exactly that. That wasn't really what it was. There might have been because um there are some peoples who lived throughout like Central and South America
Mm.
who some of them practiced certain like rituals during war where they would eat like a piece of the enemy's heart as almost
Oh yeah.
like this thing, you know. So maybe
Vikings
that
did that with skulls. Well, they didn't eat them, but they drank the alcohol out the skulls.
exactly, you know, so maybe that's what the Europeans saw and they just kind of called it cannibalism and that kind of thing, which maybe it's
Mm.
cannibalism light with a small c. But
Okay, see.
right. But but what I found interesting is that there seemed to be more cooperation between the indigenous peoples and the Europeans, at least in the early days, and that some of them took allegiance with some of the because Europe was just fighting each other for everything. They
Yep.
just wanted it was a land grab,
Yeah. And
and they would go in and they would promise the indigenous people protection from their enemies if you help us take control of
mm.
this island and blah 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 all sorts of stuff. um so so there's a lot more autonomy that was happening, there's a lot more choice, there's a lot more, and actually from what I'm seeing, the indigenous peoples were a lot more resilient than we thought. That actually it's not just as simple as the Europeans came and just slaughtered all of them easy peasy. The
Ah.
Europeans were actually at a disadvantage because um, the terrain was very unfamiliar to them, and even their guns would not work very well. Like the gunpowder would get damp if they went up into the rainforest and that kind of thing, and all sorts of stuff. So like the indigenous people actually had in many islands they had like strongholds, and they were actually really like a serious threat to the Europeans. And how the Europeans ultimately overcame them was more so through deception, it seems, than anything else. It seems like it was more through lies and sort of political tactics, sort of pitting one of them against each other, and actually even
Mm.
they would even do things like they would draw new lines of demarcation that didn't exist before. So like
Mm.
they would go in and they would split a group into two ethnic groups, even though the group never sees themselves as two. So like for instance, I'm light skinned, you're dark skinned, but
Mm.
we both consider ourselves Kittitians, and we just don't really see. I don't really walk around thinking of myself as a light skinned Kittitian versus a dark skinned Kittitian. But the Europeans came in and they would say, "Oh, um, those guys over there are the Eastern something, or they are the yellow Caribs, or they are the this Carib, the red Caribs, and those are the this Caribs, and they behave differently than you, and they must want to." And they just started to introduce these sort of like this disunity that caused them to fight against each other.
Ah.
Um, but even things
Oh.
like spatial organization. So, for instance, how they organize their community um, is different from how we typically organize ours in like separate individual lots. They
Right.
kind of organize their community around a sort of a central space, right? And certain activities will happen in that central space, but the central
Mm.
space also was a way that everybody was kind of connected to each other. And during certain times when, for instance, the Europeans would displace them from a certain area and tell them,
Yeah.
okay, you have to go to this region of the island and you stay over there. What they even did was they allocated them plots of land according to the way that they allocate plots of land in
Ah,
Europe. And it didn't work for them in that way, because it's like, this is not how our community is. So we don't know what to do when you tell me that
mm,
this thing belongs to Kenesha and this thing belongs to me. What am I don't under they didn't it was just it dismantled a
mm.
lot of their traditional community practices. And even where they were relocated, like, in many instances, was not ideal for like farming and fishing and that kind of thing, and it would just have a huge effect on how they practice their way of life. So I'm finding it just really, really. And the funny thing is that was happening in the 1700s. It happened again in the 1900s, and it seems to be in danger of
Oh,
happening
yeah,
again.
makes sense.
The, the,
1900s.
the recent eruption in La Soufriere in Saint Vincent, um, they they are now having to like deal with relocating the indigenous people to different areas. And now the question is raising again. Um,
Uh,
how, how do you allocate land, in a way that is in keeping and consistent with their resilience as a community, that allows them, their community as they know it, to survive.
mm.
You um, I find that really fascinating, that just
How,
just how people are physically oriented changes
yeah.
how we interact with each other.
How do you get all this research? Like, is it like, do they give you access to like a public online library? Do you interview people? How are you getting all this
Um,
stuff?
well, right now I'm in the preliminary research phase, so I'm gathering up all the information that I can on my own, just from
Oh,
internet searches. So I'm watching a lot of documentaries about the Taino, and about the
okay.
Maroons, and about the European contact with different islands. So I'm just absorbing everything that I have access to free, and I'm sort of seeing the discrepancies and the similarities
Right.
between
Yeah.
certain things. I'm looking at it from like a very wide range, because like right now, for instance,
Good.
f-
Mm.
it's so fascinating. Kenny, I can nerd out on this forever, but I won't. But I'm just saying, like right now,
It's interesting though, because
yeah, like
it's
right now,
that's
the
nice.
Maroons of Jamaica have
Yes.
it's a, I don't know if you're following that, what's going on there, but it's like a major identity kind of issue between the Maroons and the rest of Jamaica, in a way, because people sort of
Okay.
understand Maroons to be runaway slaves,
That's how they
right?
painted. Yeah.
That's how they
Yeah.
paint it, and that they're sort of separate and that kind of thing. The Maroons are saying, actually, um, we are Taino people who integrated with Africans who were not just slaves, but this, Kenny, is so fascinating. When the Moors conquered Spain, and they
Mm-hmm.
ruled Spain for 800 years, do you want to take a guess as to what year the last set of Moors were expelled from Spain? It's a very interesting number to us in the Caribbean.
Um. Is it like is it like Emancipation year? What
Emancipation.
particular year?
So the Moors ruled Spain.
1624.
The Moors ruled Spain from about like somewhere around 700 BC to about 1492.
Two? Hey, 1492.
So in
1492.
1492, Isabella and Ferdinand, um, they basically reclaimed the last tiny, tiny little bit of Spain that was still controlled by Moors, by black Moorish Spaniards who had ruled for 800 years. So why this is fascinating to me is because 1492 is the year that Christopher Columbus sailed from Spain to the
To
Caribbean.
yeah, the Americas.
So 1492, the Moors were up until that year. I mean, they had control of Spain for 800 years. And
Uh-huh.
that was the year that Isabella finally took her last little piece of the thing. So what the Taino are saying in their thing is that when Columbus came back on his like second or third thing, there were black people on his ship who were not slaves.
That he took back to Spain?
No, as in black,
Different.
there were black people who came, there were people of African descent who were
Uh-huh.
on the European ships that came from Europe to the Caribbean. Remember, the Moors were black, and
Ah, but
the Moors
so
were controlling Spain. So many of them would have been
oh.
like merchants and wealthy people. Remember, the Moors were in charge of Spain. Spain was under the full control of the Arabic Moors of the Moors for 800 years. So so there's architecture in Spain that is Arabic. There's all of this stuff. There's a huge influence,
Yes.
just like how
Yes.
Europe just like how Europe ruled the Caribbean for 400 years, and there's a lot of European architecture, the Moors ruled Spain for twice that long. So, so, so the Taino have been saying, the Maroons of Jamaica have been saying for a while, this idea that we are runaway slaves is incorrect. That we're not descended from runaway slaves. We are descended from early Africans who came to the Caribbean and integrated with our people, who were not necessarily slaves. And I thought, I remember hearing this. I remember hearing this last year when I was following the first sort of like stories that come, because there's a new chief of the Maroons in Jamaica, and he's very educated, and he
Uh-huh.
is right now there's a big issue because the government of Jamaica is, it looks like they're allowing a mining company to come in and mine parts of Maroon territory, and
Oh.
the Maroons are saying, look, we have a treaty signed with Britain from the 1700s that says nobody can touch this land. This land is still is ours, and it's separate. And um and actually, and the Maroons are trying to sort of establish their autonomy, and they're trying to say, look, we are not runaway slaves. We are actually a fully autonomous people who have always been here, who have always had rights to this country. We've always had our own community, our own system of
Mm-hmm.
government, our own thing like that,
Mm-hmm.
and and that needs to be respected. So and what's coming up in all of this now is because they keep bringing up this treaty that was signed in the 1700s that
Yeah.
gives the Maroons their autonomy, and so it
Yeah.
says that you control that area. And Britain, remember, Britain in this case is the government of Jamaica.
At that time, yeah, when they signed
Well,
it.
technically, kind of no, because the government of Jamaica is independent, but is the Privy Council is still in charge of the judicial system in Jamaica. They're still the Queen is still the head of state.
It's been the head of
So
state. Okay.
technically, the king. So what the Maroons are saying is that any treaty that was signed with the head of state, with the monarch of Britain in
Mm-hmm.
1700s should still be honored by the monarch of Britain today, which by extension should be honored by the British monarch's representative in Jamaica, which is the Governor General and the
Mm-hmm.
Prime Minister. So
Mm-hmm.
he's saying, the chief has literally said to the Prime Minister, your boss's name is Elizabeth. That he said that. He said, your boss's name is Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a boss. Your boss's name is Elizabeth. And your boss's ancestors have signed this treaty that guarantee my autonomy. Now the
Mm.
the hot topic there is when you read the treaty. right?
Uh-huh.
The treaty between the Maroons and no, first of all, I found it interesting because when he first talked about the fact that we are not runaway slaves of the British Empire, we are a fully autonomous people who govern ourselves and that kind of thing, because we are not descendants of slaves as you think, but of free Africans who came to the region and whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never heard of that before until I started doing this research and I realized it's true. Moors would have come over with Christopher Columbus in that time because they still would have been in some. I mean, your people have been in charge for 800 years. This is it's not like it's the same year. You understand? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
we still have money, we still have choice, we still have all this kind of thing. So, it's quite likely that Moors
Mm-hmm.
would have come over as well and
Mm-hmm.
integrated with the Taino, right? But in this treaty, the treaty says that Britain is gonna leave the Maroons alone. The Maroons are gonna leave Britain alone. And by the way, the reason that they signed the treaty was because Britain was losing, right? After 84 years, Britain was losing and they couldn't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So they capitulated and they said, all right, cool. But any slaves that run away from our plantations, you have to send them back. And also, you have to help us catch any runaway slaves. And if there's ever a slave rebellion, you have to help us quash that rebellion. And
Mm-hmm.
there's all this history of the Maroons actually helping the British plantation owners put down rebellions that were started by the slaves because that was what they signed on to. That was their treaty. So now that the Maroons are trying to get people to get the government of Jamaica and to get the people of Jamaica kind of on their side and to say, hey, you have to respect our autonomy, the people of Jamaica are going, weren't you the same people that sent us back to the plantations? Weren't you the same people that, captured Paul Bogle and Tucky and all those guys and all of the people who weren't you the same people who were actually helping the British? And no, it's like it's interesting because I've been watching the chief kind of try to kind of dance around the subject a little
That's
bit.
what he's like.
And
Really?
so so
Maybe.
so yeah, well, he said before that no, it was only criminals that we rounded up. But I'm like,
But
but
when them plantation people have printed them as criminals anyway.
yeah, exactly. Any slave that ran away from his master would be a
It's a
criminal.
criminal. They
So
see it as
that's
a
exactly what
criminal.
it
Don't
was.
care why.
And the funny thing is, no, I've struggled to kind of reconcile this because I'm like, that can't be true. Why would the Maroons? And this was back when I understood the Maroons to be descendants of African slaves. Why would they send back slaves and things just out of whatever? I don't understand that. But then when I understand that actually what we think of as Maroons are actually Taino people, right? And now I'm reading all this history from all these different islands, and I
Mm-hmm.
realize, oh, it is actually true that in many islands, the Taino did sign treaties with different European settlers,
Mm-hmm.
either either against other indigenous groups or against
Mm-hmm.
other European people. So, like in St. Vincent, for instance, the
Mm-hmm.
French signed treaties with the Black Kalinago, the Black Caribs,
Mm-hmm.
there to form an alliance against the British. So the Caribs of St. Vincent helped the French to defeat the British and to take the island from the British.
I do remember that part in history books, but I never understood why. Like I never thought of there was a treaty. I never got the see. This is why history is interesting. I know why I liked history in high school now because it's a whole soap opera. It's a whole. It's a
It's fascinating. It's
So then that
fascinating.
makes sense. Did you ever read the diary of Thomas Thistle? Thistle?
Thomas Thistle, is
This I
that
think he's a dude in like a plantation owner or something in Jamaica. There's a whole diary
oh, okay.
on
I thought you
him.
meant no, 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 no.
I have
I
his
I
name
I've,
right. I hope I have his name right.
I know I've heard of a diary of some was he like an African prince or something who was, I know I've heard of a diary of a slave who was brought from Africa, and he was like a prince, and he was in a plantation in Jamaica, and because he was educated he could read and write, and he wrote down, is that what he's talking about, or
No,
is
not
that
that one. I've heard of that one though, but I didn't get to download that one. That's a good point though. I have to go back to that if I can find that again. Because when I was doing research for my book, I had to read about like what how plantation owners were thinking, and I do remember there was a part in there where they had to like get help from other blacks, but I didn't. No, I'm wondering like if that's what the Maroons were doing. No, I thought we were just like I don't know people they just paid off or something, but no. Now you're making me think. Now I got
well,
questions.
well,
No.
they were paid. So the Maroons, in the treaty, it says that for each person that you return to us, you shall be satisfied. Um, you will be monetarily satisfied according to whatever
Um,
magistrate decides is a fair amount. So there was money in it, and
so did
and
they?
that's it seems to be that that's what happened, right? It
Uh
seems to
huh.
be that the Europeans realized that they cannot fight um, the indigenous peoples here
Uh
because
huh.
they know the land better,
Yeah.
um, and actually the more like, so if the Moors indeed did integrate with the Taino, the Moors conquered Spain
Mhm.
for 800 years. So
Mhm.
they had warfare in their blood. They knew how to fight. They knew how to they knew already
Mhm.
how to fight a European power. So that could have quite easily been passed down, that knowledge. Um, and yes,
Mm.
so the Europeans were no match for the natives. So the only way that they could
Mm.
have won was through political um warfare, basically. So to create these treaties that were really in favor of the Europeans and made them do all the work, and made them round up.
Mm.
So no, 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 no. You go round up our slaves for us. You can do it so much better than we can. You know the land. You know how to track. You know how to be in the mountains. You know
Mm.
whatever. You are as strong as them. You go do all the dirty work for us in
Uh
exchange
huh.
for us protecting your region. But also, if any other European country tries to invade, you have to help us fight them. So they created allies out of these, and it was just so fast. I mean, I just found that fascinating
They
because
don't
because
teach
it's
you this part in the history books.
no, no, and it says to me, it's fascinating because so many things, right? And
Mm.
also what's fascinating too is that, okay, so do you know about the Arab slave trade? That even before the European slave trade, the Arabs enslaved almost as many people. They traded almost as many people as the Europeans did, right?
Someone told me that, but I didn't believe it. I
Oh, no,
did.
no.
I don't know. I just didn't believe it.
Listen,
Someone did tell me that.
the Arab slave trade was wild. They would sell it. Listen, they sold Europeans to Africans. They sold Africans to Europeans. They sold Africans to other Africans. They sold Europeans to other Europeans. They're like, look, if we're in the slave trading business. If you fall into my hands, you're gonna be a slave. I'm gonna sell you to somebody because I could get like that. Kenny, it's like everybody was just enslaving everybody, and
The
apparently
hustle black man.
and apparently, even the indigenous people, they took slaves of other groups that they conquered, but
Yeah.
they would even capture European slaves if they could. So if they
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
so if they could
Oh,
overpower a European thing, they would hold them as slaves too and sell them. So,
Huh.
but obviously, they never had the kind of mass market that the Europeans had. But what I gather is just like at that time, slavery was just a likely outcome of surviving a conflict.
Wow.
If you and another country or another tribe or another group end up in fighting
Mm-hmm.
and they win and you're still alive, you're probably going to be a slave.
Leave.
They're probably going to sell you. That's just what it is. They don't care if you're white, if you're black, if you're yellow, if you're brown. We don't care. If you're a human being and you're alive, we're going to sell you.
You become sleepy. If you're human and
So
you're
so
alive.
so so when people talk now about, oh well, the Maroons used to send back the slaves to the Europeans, I'm thinking, well, that might actually be true, but also I don't. I can't. So am I supposed to fault them for that? Because this is what was in the mind of humanity at the
At the
time. This
time,
is
yeah.
just
That's the norm.
how. It's just we did things. We're just gonna sell a
Mm.
man. If we catch him, we can sell him. We're just gonna sell you. you know. Um. So the research has helped me kind of like, and all of this is just preliminary stuff. In the meantime,
Wow.
right? So already
Yeah.
it's kind of given me a different sort of perspective on history, and because now I know that it's much more complex. I thought, oh, the Europeans just came, they slaughtered all the poor naked natives, and then they just, the poor helpless natives, they just, oh, and I just think, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, the Europeans were really nasty, but there was more complexity, there was more
Mm.
cooperation, there was more stuff happening between everybody.
We're more than what the textbooks are saying. There's a lot
Way
more.
more, way more, way more.
And that what they
So
choose not to disclose as well. Because I'm pretty sure like whoever soldiers don't want to mention about their guns getting damped, their gunpowder getting damped. They don't want to put that inside the history books. It doesn't look good. What doesn't
exactly,
just they were outnumbered. That's not
exactly.
accurate.
That's what they used to say. So have you ever heard of the Mystic Man of Mount Misery?
No, but that sounds interesting.
So
No.
this is one of the characters in the Legacy project that I'm working on. Right, the one that went to, yeah, Skinny.
Yes.
Okay.
It,
I find he's
he,
been very quiet for the whole time, isn't it?
yeah, he's like, hey, daddy, this is getting a little out of hand now.
No, it's goat, it's goat and sheep o'clock. So there's some goats that come in the area. Okay, Guinness. Okay, okay, okay. Leave it. Oi, 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 oi. Go back up there. Go back up there. Good boy. Just relax yourself. I know. I know. I know. You can hear him. You can hear him like.
The thick sound, yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, so remember I told you that I found all these interesting characters who lived in Saint Kitts. Um,
Yes.
in like
We
the
were going to put some of
1400s,
them.
1500s, 1600s. So there was this man that the French called the Mystic of Mount Misery,
Okay.
and um, they called him a giant. They said that he was a giant, and he was a runaway slave who lived in the mountains, and he was kind of a loner, but he would also sometimes come down and raid the plantations for supplies and that kind of thing. And he was
Mm-hmm.
violent, and he would also sometimes assist in like if like runaways were to get to his area, he would assist them in setting up their camp and teaching them how to fight and all that kind of stuff. So he
Mm-hmm.
was like a fugitive. He was a very wanted man, and
Mm.
the French soldiers would write about how they would track him down and they would corner him, you know, and 20 of them would fire on him at the same
Mm.
time, and none of the bullets are hitting him. Some of the guns don't go off. They keep missing him. They don't understand. What's going on. All these, So they started to make up these stories that he was a giant and that he was a
Uh,
mystic. that he was like some magical person or whatever it is. They just didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to admit the fact that like you
The stuff
were ill-equipped for the area, you
they get
know, and that he would charge at them and stuff. He used to charge at them and send them scattering and that kind of thing. So the only way that they could justify this was that he was a giant.
a giant or a magic man or
Yes,
like
yes.
something voodoo evil. They just say y'all didn't had enough equipment. You didn't. You had a small group of people. Your general
I,
miscalculated. It's okay.
precisely.
Just
But it's also in a way, it's also a kind of a way to discredit the. It's like it's slightly racist too, but then maybe racism is kind of like it's not the correct word to apply to this time. Because
discriminatory.
I
But probably think
yeah,
like
I
something
kind of
barbaric and
wonder. Yeah, I wonder how much racism really played into their mindsets at this time, or if it was more just about conquest and whatever. But I think it was also them not wanting to give credit to the the technical and military prowess of these people. So they would
mm,
say that they used
yeah,
magic and
100%.
that they were all of
Yeah,
these
100%.
this and that and blah 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 blah.
They would
Rather than
they
just come out and
if
say no, the
like if
military.
this if he knew, like if this giant knew how to operate guns and stuff, they'll be like, nope, he was a giant. He just grabbed it out the hands forcefully and oh no.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly, exactly. Um, so
But
I
then
find
what's
it very
real anymore now, Cleon? What's real? What is real anymore?
Kenny, it is wild because it's so funny because that you asked that, right? Because history presents that problem naturally because of the distance of a story in time and place and also mindset. So there's a distance of time, there's a distance of place, and there's also a distance of just how people thought. Because remember, in this
Mm,
time, there was no global humanitarian movement. So there was no
mm-mm.
the only thing that looked anything like humanitarianism was religion.
Yeah, I was
So
just about to say
so,
that.
so they would
I just
say
about to say that.
exactly. So they would say, okay, if those natives convert to Christianity, then they are my subjects, and therefore you can't enslave them. But if they're not Christian, then you
What
can
do you want?
enslave them.
Yeah.
That was
So
the
they're
only
barbaric.
that's the only thing that they recognized, and it was not a centrally, it was not a globalistic movement. It was just, we are Catholics and we are only for Catholics, and if you're not a Catholic, then you can be killed, whether you're white or
That,
black or anything.
oh, I just had that conversation earlier, like last weekend, about France and Catholicism and how it worked here. Cause they said like you were either like you weren't you became a Catholic not because of you believe in the religion, because just for survival. Like you either had to do
Mm.
that or you become an outcast. And it's like that's how history went back. And I was just listening to her because I was curious to know like what's the religious standpoint here in France. So she was telling me the whole story behind it, and it's yeah, it's either you're an outcast or you're a Catholic. There's no in between.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
one or the other.
Crazy. Crazy. So it's like, how does that how do you it's like you have to almost make certain adjustments when you are judging or when you are trying to understand people of that time. You kind of almost have to adjust for what they thought of as, because like for instance I tend to think that mm, it wasn't necessarily racial, but it was prejudicial. So they were
Yeah.
prejudiced and they were violently prejudiced, but maybe not necessarily on the grounds of race as much as religion is how they
No,
saw
yeah,
it.
I think it's more religion, or like I guess like I said, like status too, because that's how they signify a human being. It's like if
Mm,
you don't have God in your life, you're not a human. You're considered an animal, basically.
wild. Yeah, yeah. It's just I don't know. I don't know. So so yeah, so it's just been fascinating. It's been fascinating, and I feel I feel like I'm in my nerdy element because I don't get to nerd out like this. I don't get to nerd out like this in a legitimate way. Like if I go down a rabbit hole of history, it's usually because I'm procrastinating and wasting time. But no, I'm actually doing real stuff, and it's kind of cool.
Look at you, sure. This is nice information. That's we need another 2 hours and change and talk about this because this is educational. This
Yeah,
made me want to rewatch all those slavery stuff, like the plantation thing. Because because I don't even know as much as you. I only know a little bit of the surface when I was researching for my book, and I know there was stuff that they were leaving out. I knew it. I just didn't know what it was, but
hmm,
I know they were leaving things out. It just because
oh
when I was
yeah,
reading, I just wonder like what. And then you wonder about the other person because you don't have the other person's point of view, which is so sad. He's like, you only got one. But what about the
yeah,
other side?
yeah, precisely, precisely. And in the Caribbean context, what I realize is that it's like I realized, okay,
Mm.
there is there is Caribbean. So like the integration of the Caribbean um happened in so many different. It's like I'm seeing the different layers of integration, right? So one, there is the integration of ethnicity because Africans came here and were brought here and
Mm-hmm.
integrated with the native peoples and then created, so it's like so when I think of people as like, okay, someone is Afro-Caribbean and someone might be native or indigenous Caribbean, and I sort of look for on one hand someone with dark skin color and
Mm-hmm.
curly hair as the identifier of African, and I look for
Right.
someone with long straight black hair and somewhat olive type skin as the indigenous person. But I'm realizing you can't look at it that way because
Mm-hmm.
if the Taino were integrating with Africans from as early as the 1400s, then when you now look at a black person, you don't know that that person is purely African. That person may well be African mixed
Mm-hmm.
with indigenous. They may well be. You don't know. You don't know what their lineage, where it goes to. You know, I found out like there was because even in different islands, like the after the British took over from the Black Caribs in Saint Vincent, they expelled them to some tiny island. I read one account that said that they sent some of them to Jamaica. So I'm like, oh Lord.
Okay, there we go.
Here, so the plot thickens now. You know,
Yippee.
so now
I
we
didn't even
have the,
think about that. Yeah, that's another chapter. Yeah, I can
you know,
no, that's a whole nother situation.
and
No.
and then they sent some to Honduras. So they
Ah,
have, so it's like, so now you
people.
have I forgot that, like, oh, people can travel within the islands. so
Yeah, I
so so
forgot.
while you might be tracing just one way, but you forget that also somebody might have come from another island and mixed into your family and bringing in their mix of something else. So it's like my head hurting me. I can't bother, you know. But that's one layer of integration, which is the ethnic integration. But then the other
Mhm.
layer of integration is what happened with Europe, because the mere fact that Africans were able to integrate in this region in the first place
There.
was because of European ships coming here. And the mere fact that we speak English, and the mere fact that we have our communities laid out in
Mhm.
the way that they are, and the mere fact that we have a judicial system the way it is, and the mere fact, so there's this systematic integration. So we cannot actually separate the Caribbean from Europe at all. You may think of Caribbean person as different because of their skin color and their ethnicity, but
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
a Caribbean person also consists of a European sociological influence because they speak English, and it's like holy shit. There's so much. Um. Anyway, yeah.
I
So
gotta go
that's
spit in that
right.
bottle, man. I want to know my lineage. I gotta. I think of a more. I could have. Well, you see, we had my grandmother, man. My grandmother, my grandmother. Then Santo Domingo
What about
people.
her?
Then Santo Domingo people. I don't
Oh,
know.
oh, Santo Domingo. Hey,
Yes.
that's Taino territory. That's Taino land. Who knows, Kenny?
I don't know anymore.
Who
They might just
knows?
tell me. I don't know. I could be 2% Swedish for all I know. I don't know anymore. Who knows?
2% Swedish. Okay, more like 0.2%. uh, anyway, Kenny, this has been almost 3 hours of talking to you.
So now I'm a talking session with my brother here. That's how long we take
Yeah,
on our
yeah.
calls.
And could you believe that when we first started sending voice note, you used to complain about a little 10-minute voice note, a little 5 minute voice
Okay.
note.
Yeah, so how are you gonna spend the rest of the day, Cleon?
Ah.
As good as you
um,
have plans. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
what time is it for you? Is it like 2 p.m. where you are? Three
It
three
is
a.m. 4 a.m.
8:04 p.m.
8:04. Okay, plenty of time. And you have what work for the rest of this week and other stuff,
Actually,
other
no,
friendship events.
I'm taking Thursday and Friday off. So I'm off
Okay.
tomorrow and
Nice.
Friday.
Hey, okay. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Um, nice. So what are you gonna do for your off days? Are you gonna go traveling through, I don't know, through the streets of Paris,
With my
drinking
camera.
coffee and baguettes and what do French people do?
Well, there's
Um,
no outside eating and it's too cold for that. So people still try and they put on extra jacket. They either go outside and drink at one point. Um, what am I gonna do tomorrow? I definitely want to do another session with the screenings. See what I can do with that for
yes.
the next 2 days. But I know I'll take it easy. Walk with my camera. See what I take.
Yeah. Oh,
Don't
you could
overthink.
you don't forget to check out some of the films at Timeri. There's one that I think you might like.
Which one?
It's it's called Nos. Okay, so I don't know if you saw. I posted an article. I did like a top 10 must watch list at Timeri.
Yeah, you. I don't know why you think. Okay, I'm gonna go on the website though. I'm gonna go on that link
See, you
you have
see.
there and
I
okay.
just do everything I can to support you and to look at your work and all these things, and you don't
Yeah, I
even
love you too,
care. I
Cleon.
do all
Okay,
this.
so a lot of that
So
going
check
on.
out that list because like I did like a cool sort of I sort of chose something from each kind of sort of category, so you kind of get like a sort of a rounded.
Which
um
which Cleon? There's two Cleons.
you could actually just go on Twin Island Cinema. On the
Oh,
page is the last post, and it's actually it's in the bio. The link is in the bio. It's in the link tree in our bio. um
okay.
but
Here we go.
there's one film called Nosferasta, and it's about apparently, so it's Columbus was a vampire who bit a black man in in the 1400s, and now this black man is like still alive, and he is trying to come to terms with like a contemporary Caribbean lifestyle, and even things like applying for a visa and doing all sorts of stuff and
What?
things. It's just interesting. I'm like, what? Who makes these things? So that's really really cool. And there's actually a couple of indigenous documentaries as well. So there's one called
Ooh.
New Land, the Kalinago Dream. And it's like centered around um, the
Uh,
first Kalinago parliamentarian in Dominica,
ooh.
and some of the work that he's doing. That's pretty cool as well. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of other cool stuff. There's some cool queer stories as well, which Tamiri does a lot of, and I do them really well. There's some stuff from Cuba, French Caribbean. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of cool stuff. A lot of shots as well. That are really really nice. So
Oh,
and yeah, so check out a couple of the things from Timera. They're screening for free until November 6th.
November
I guess.
6th. Okay, I'm on their thing. So I just need to
So
sign up and then I could sign in the ones I want to watch.
yeah,
I can
exactly,
post.
exactly. And then
Ooh.
yeah, and then maybe next time we talk again, we could maybe talk about some of the films that we watched and why
Ooh.
we like them, different things like that. That could be kind of cool.
Yes. I like that one
So
already. How
so
do you
yeah,
pronounce it? Timari? Timari?
Timeri, Timeri.
Timari. Ah.
I think it's the indigenous word for Guyana, if I'm not mistaken.
Ah.
Yeah.
Timari. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Kenny, this was cool. This is nowhere near as stressful as I thought it was going to be.
Gosh, you're just being complicated, and I don't know why. This is gonna be easy.
Because you make a sport out of stressing me out. That's why.
I can't do it all the time. I have to behave sometimes.
Lull me into a false sense of security. So yeah, so this was cool. So yeah, like we could talk again soon, like next week or I don't know, whenever you have some time again. I'll send you the link and we can just do as many of these as we want to, and it'll be cool.
Just if you want to talk to me, it's okay. It's okay. Some
Oh
people
my
just meant to have a podcast, you know. Some people just meant to talk and look at themselves when they speak, because it's just, boy, yeah. This you see, I was not like this growing up. I blame Taiwan and breaking out your
god.
shell and just chat, 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 chat,
Uh,
chat, chat, chat.
Last question before you leave. Where is a place that you really would love to do street photography?
In the
Like that
world
you
or
have
in France?
in the world that you haven't yet? Like where would you like
Oh,
really love to go?
Tokyo.
I knew you were gonna say Japan. I knew that you were gonna say that. I knew it. Did I tell you that after you remember when you asked me the other day what two accents would I have if I could do it if I could be born again? And I said, what did I say? German and Japanese.
You said
Did I tell you
Japanese. You said German.
German and Japanese? Those are the
Really?
two.
Japanese?
Yes,
I
so you
forgot
don't
the
go back and listen to my. You see, you don't listen to me. You see, that's the thing. I
Japanese.
send you this voice note.
Half of the
I
time,
take my
Cleon, I
time,
just,
and you see because you're always speeding up my voice notes.
because you're
That's
talking
why.
about nonsense. You gotta talk about like, oh, and and these pauses, and I'm like,
That's
Cleon, just
ambiance. That's Foley. That's anyway.
and you
Um,
did doing 1,001 things. You gotta take up dog food and
Give me a slice
supermarket
of
and
life. A slice
silence
of
for like
life.
5 minutes. And or I'm eating cake. And I'm like, Cleon,
Fresh,
the relevance,
fresh. At
relevance.
least it wasn't chips, okay? I could be way more loud in my eating it. And I just bought a bag of chips just today, um so you're lucky. But yes, I said it would German and Japanese. And then the next morning I had a Zoom call with a guy, and I didn't know where he was from or anything, and he looked Japanese but he spoke German. And I said, "What's up with that?" He said, "Yeah, I'm German Japanese." And I was like, "What?
Hey,
What
is
does
he
that
still in
mean?"
Germany? Is he still in Germany?
Huh?
Is he still in Germany?
Yeah, he was living in Germany. That's where he like lived most of his life. But he speaks both
He speaks
Japanese and
Japanese.
German. He speaks Japanese and German.
Are you gonna meet him?
I would like to. I mean, I need to probably follow up an email or something. It was like a brief meeting. And he lives in Germany, so maybe who knows? Who knows? But there'll be so many more people to meet and stuff like that. So yeah.
I don't know the
Anyways,
Japanese accent though, but all right. Okay.
all right. So we are just at 3 hours, and that is that for this one. And yeah, we'll talk again. So
Don't miss
how do
me
you
too
say?
hard. I know you're gonna miss me.
How do you say? Don't let the bed bugs bite in French.
Seriously.
That's all I want to know.
I wouldn't know. I don't have bed bugs in my place. See, that's for people who don't use Clorox and bleach. I mean, I don't understand.
Oh my
Why
gosh,
y'all can
these
have these
Parisian
crawling
bed
things in
bugs.
here. Mm-mm.
Do Parisian bed bugs have accents as well, like dogs?
Really, you think the dogs don't sound French, do they? Do they? You think they have French accent?
I think you need like software to pick it up to like listen to the cadence and all them kind of things. But I mean, maybe. Guinea, what language would you like to speak? French,
He understands
German,
English.
sometimes.
Yeah, teach him another language. Make sure the next person who gets him while you're away is they speak another language so he could learn two languages when you get back.
So that when I come back, I can communicate with Giddies.
It's just it's I just want him cultured, man. I need another language in him. I need another
Yes,
language.
yes. I really will. Like the next dog I have, I'm definitely gonna train him in multiple languages for sure. I think that'd be cool. But yeah. Anyway, Kenny, goodbye.
I say goodbye now, but I can send you another 30-minute long voice note afterwards.
Oh yeah,
Goodbye, Klieon.
yeah.
Don't miss me too hard.
Okay, Kenny, goodbye now. Take care. Ciao.
How do I come off of this too? I don't know how